Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Steve Van Samson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smale.
Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Welcome to another episode of the Clutch of Personalities. I've got Friday with me here tonight, and with us, we have an amazing author. He's a horror writer, a college professor, and a rock critic. His published novels include Alice Walks, The Witch of the Wood, Phantom Effect, The Sculptor, and the Winslow Sisters, and his public collections are Seven Deadly Pleasures and Dancing with Tombstones. He has written more than 50 short stories and appeared in magazines and anthologies such as Weird Tales, Searchers After Horror, The Castle of Horror, Penumbra, Shunned Houses, and Apostles of the Weird. And his short story titled How Bria Died was featured in the year's Best Dark Fantasy and Horror in 2011 by Prime Books. Michael here writes the site copy and press releases for New Sightings at Eclipse Records, a rock and metal label out of Pompton Plains, New Jersey. And we are bringing you here tonight so you can hear about his new book through Weird House Press, Blood Red Meta. Everybody, the amazing Michael Aronovitz. Aronovitz.
Thank you for such an incredible introduction. Oh my gosh. You made me sound superhuman. Thank you.
Well, you are. The amount of things that you do, it's insane. We've got like the music thing going on. Yeah, the writing thing going on, the teaching and everything that you have. That's a lot to balance. And you do it well.
Oh, thank you so much. If I'm not busy, I get caught in my worry. Like I'm not depressed, but I worry about things, and I have to be writing something new while I'm teaching, while I'm grading, and the whole nine yards. I have to be working on something, or else I don't have a place for my worry. So that's where kind of the obsessiveness comes from.
And I think I noticed some of that in this book, Blood Red Meta. By the way, I'm assuming there's quite a bit of the characters are based on you. You had a little bit about one of the characters, the professor who can't sleep because he doesn't know about that Coles payment that he's letting go over to the next time, and what he thought about this person doing this in class. And is that similar to what you're talking about right now?
Yeah, and that's an extra level. I'm bringing the book into my classes. I teach at the University of Delaware, Delaware County Community College, and Immaculata. I'm an adjunct and I teach at all three. And this is the first year that I'm bringing in a text of my own. And one of the things that I tell them is you're going to get a meta level that some people that read it aren't going to get. one of the characters, the Rock Reaper, Tito Quinones, that is a real dude. He's in a real band called Saint Diablo, and he's with Eclipse Records, and he's a total badass. The Professor is based on me. Cody Kennedy is based on a real guy named Cody Walker, who I have done podcasts with. The character Ghost, who is Ralph Romano, is based on a real guy named Ralph Busso, who was in a band called Ravenscroft. And their story is so sad and so cool. They were right on the brink of making it to the next level. Cody was the guitar player, Ralph's the singer, and they get signed by Pavement Entertainment, and they're pretty big. They did Puddle of Mud, that band from the 2000s. And then the pandemic hit, and a lot of bands have this sob story, but they couldn't tour, and they had to kind of disband for a while. And Cody and Ralph started doing podcasts, and because I know them, because I've reviewed Ravenscroft, they brought me on the show.
Mhm.
And my book is about us writing that show. And if you don't mind, I think this is a really cool story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I discovery write, and Chet Williamson, who quotes Richard Matheson, says that when you write a novel, you have to know what the last scene is going to be when you start, and you have to outline everything. And I can't work that way. Now, I've been criticized by Chet and some other people saying if you discovery write, you're kind of like, jumping off a cliff and hoping for a hang glider. And that there's a little bit of truth in that. But it takes me 6 months to a year to write a novel, and I'm going to be a different person in 12 months. So how am I going to predict what the fuck moments am I going to do? And also, if I already know all of these things, I just feel like I'm going to telegraph it. So I'm in a writing class that I've been in and out of, and I've actually taught it for a couple of semesters. But I've been in a writing class associated with Temple and University of the Arts, headed by a guy named Ken Bingham, who's a playwright, and he just opened a theater in Paris. And when I brought this thing in, at first, I wasn't going to write the story that you read. A lot of people in the class had said, why don't you collaborate with this guy, Denny, who is, he's a real cop, and he works in Maryland, and most of his stuff is about reality and theology. And I get that. And it would be cool for me to do a serial killer piece and have a cop to tell me where all the things go. Like, I don't know where the desk sergeant sits and where the evidence room is and who's in charge of that and all that. So it would have solved those problems. So I had this idea, and I was like, why don't we have a contest that's like underground, like black market kind of thing? And 12 killers are going to be let loose in Philadelphia, and they're all going to try to off each other. And I started thinking of it, and there were problems. First of all, how do I make 12 serial killers interesting? Like the first 3 would be, but then how do I come up with these different aspects? And then how do I guarantee they stay in Philadelphia? There were just a million holes. And I would start drafting a character, and then I looked at it and I started criticizing it, thinking I can't write this. And then I thought, wait a minute. What if I had Ralph as a character, because in real life he died in 2013? That's true in the book. What if I had Cody and I try to play Phoenix Rising from the Ashes and create a kill or be killed contest, but with fictional characters? And then I can write them as well as I possibly fucking can. And then I can look back on it and say what was wrong with it. And I have them criticizing each other. And that's the way the meta aspect of the novel started. I'm writing fiction that doesn't fucking work. But the beauty of it for me is there's always a guy in the next chapter saying, aha, you didn't cover this, and that. And then the story just blew up from there. It was the quickest I've ever taken to write a novel. It took me 6 months. I started May 10th and I ended on Black Friday.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I talked for a while.
Oh no, that's why we have
Well,
you
that's
here. This is
Oh yeah, and are you talking about a lot has happened since yesterday?
Yes, and that was their podcast. Oh, that is so cool. Cody Walker is going to love this moment. The podcast that they started, and they had a really good idea when the pandemic hit in real life, and Ravenscroft, which was their band, in the book I call it Wolf Shadow, but Ravenscroft disbanded. The new guitar player was Cody Walker, who I had never met. I already knew Ralph because I had reviewed him before, and he had called me, and we were sort of friends. And they wanted to vlog. You know how they do vlogs? They wanted to vlog starting the band again, which I had nothing to do with. And that would have been really cool because they had connections where they could play the Whiskey a Go-Go for their first gig. I mean, they were ready. And they started branching out and doing reaction videos, which I love reaction videos. And if people aren't familiar with that, usually there could be other formats, but I think that it's mostly made for people my age. I'm 64. And they show young kids like Aerosmith Walk This Way, and they go, wow, that's so great. And we can feel good because our music is influencing new people. So they wanted to do reaction videos. And they also, I had a book come out and I knew them. So they asked me on the show and I started talking about the book and we did some reaction videos together. And that's where all of that came from. And that was a real show. A lot has happened since yesterday. And the thing that's crazy, I just talked to Cody a week ago, and
Mhm.
we're going to do a podcast about the book, talk about meta on meta on meta. But I talked to him about a week ago, and he said people are still tuning into that show, even though he hasn't done anything since Ralph died. And it's funny. We did a reaction to have you heard of the Mexican power trio, all sisters, the Villarreals? They're called The Warning. They're a hard rock band. They finally signed to Lava, which is a cool indie press, and they have a following that all they do is look for reaction videos. So we did a reaction in real life. We did a reaction to their song Evolve Live, and it got 30,000 views in 2 days. I mean,
Huh?
look, I'm a crusty old motherfucker. I'm a teacher. I'm not getting any views, man. I'm not all about the views. And then all of a sudden, there are like 200 comments and stuff like that. I just looked at that, and it's up to 50,000 views now.
Wow.
How is that possible? I tell you, the power of YouTube. All the power to you guys, man. I don't know how you do it, but it's beautiful.
It's super fun. I love watching those reaction videos as well. You should check out there's one I'll find it and I'll send it to you when it's over and you guys should look for this too. But they take a bunch of men from different tribal leaders and shaman type, well, not shaman, it's not like that old, but like in Arabic countries and play music for them and like modern rock music and stuff, and then they have to go through and like explain the lyrics and then like translate back and forth often. But I came across it because I love seeing the different people's reactions to Disturbed's cover of Sound of Silence, because what
That's one of
David
the
Draymond did was like,
that's
oh
one of the
my God.
it's one of the most beautiful songs ever recorded. And
Hmm.
I have a running debate with my students. Is he using what's that voice enhancer called? What do they call that where it makes it go on key?
Oh,
Auto
yeah.
tune, auto tune.
No,
Um,
he's
I'll-
not.
right. I don't think he is either because I
No.
know what auto tune sounds like. It sounds fake. I
Yeah.
can hear that. And that singer is right on the money. That's one of my favorite videos.
He was raised training as a cantor uh
I
in
did
a
not know that.
synagogue, and
Mhm.
he has a 5-octave range.
Wow.
So yeah, that's all him as he goes through. But and that and in The Naked Lad I saw is when he changes
Hmm.
that voice into like the big pull up. But yeah, them watching that, they were just like, because, and the video as well that shows it just transcends. But
Oh, without a doubt.
yeah, but
What
I,
what
I
are
love watching stuff like that.
what other videos did you see? Can you think of them?
I'm not sure by him. I love to watch this gal called the Charismatic Voice.
I love
She's an,
her. She
yeah.
is so cool.
Oh
She
yeah.
does an in-depth view, and she doesn't just talk about vocals, she talks about, like, the whole 9 yards. She's really
Hmm.
cool. She's an opera singer,
Yeah.
and her stuff is really good too. Oh, I've seen The Charismatic Voice a million times. I mean, I like Brad and Lex, even though they got banned for some reason. Um, I'm trying to think of some of the names, man, but, the ones you're watching, I'm watching the same ones.
Yeah. She's obsessed with David Draymond now, so she's had him like on her show. She's done an
Sure.
interview with him and such, so that was really cool. Um, but I speaking of the music stuff, I wanted to check because there's a character, and I love how I mean, you so meted yourself throughout this that
Yeah,
the professor is writes reviews for Eclipse Records and the fan
and I
fiction
do.
aspect of
Yeah.
it. Yeah, how you came up with the beekeeper because you mentioned that you'd written something for or that the character says that they'd written something for Anthrax, and then the B one was written for Slayer, but I was like, "But Anthrax, Attack of the Killer Bees, like,
Oh,
that would
shit.
have been perfect."
That would have been
And
perfect. You know what the problem
and
is? Going into my heavy metal history, um, the 4 bands that invented thrash in the '80s, of course, are Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, and Metallica. I was in a working band in the '80s. Like I say in the book, it's actually true. But we were glam. So who are the big 4 for glam? I guess it's Motley Crue, Cinderella, Bon Jovi, and Def Leppard. But I was more on that side. So I don't know the whole catalog of the thrash guys. And there are like rumors that back in the '80s we like hated each other, like the 2 different groups. And it's like, no, I mean, I played with thrash bands where I was their opener. Yeah, it was all cool. Um, but uh, when it comes to Anthrax knowing the beekeeper, the way I hooked up with these bands for about a year, and it was really good because I was in a writer's block thing, and it brought me back into writing around I don't know 2018. Um, I hooked up with a guy who ran Pure Grain Audio, which is a music magazine in Canada. They're defunct now, and he's doing promotions now. But he had an idea. Instead of me writing music reviews, what if he gives me the press package of a band that just came out with a new album? Why don't I write a story starring the members of the band? The problem was I had to do one a month. And it started out like I did Trivium, and that was 10 pages. And then I did Electric Wizard, and that was 15 pages. So I did a few, and then we got hooked up with Heidi Fitzgerald, who she's like the publicist for Dirty Honey now, but she's done Led Zeppelin and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And she gave us permission to do Anthrax. So I studied the videos, and I took 2.5 weeks, but it was a novella. It was like 55 pages, and she loved it. And Frank Bello, the bass player from Anthrax, sent me a birthday video wish. I mean, if I stepped close to fame, and that was cool. And I had never listened to Anthrax before I did that story. And then Heidi also was the publicist for Slayer. And I wrote a story that included stuff in the novel you just read. I cannibalized it. Slayer didn't really go for it. They promoted it once, and then it was over. And it was very quietly kind of like a no, we're not interested. And that was cool. But anything that I write, I don't consider it a failure. I just consider that there wasn't a place for it. So the beekeeper has 2 scenes that I took from that Slayer story, which was another novella. It was 65 pages. And I was glad to do it, man. Having a beekeeper, somebody who can control insects, really worked well. I have to ask you a question. Have you seen the whole New Wednesday series?
No,
Only the first
I
season so far,
Right, me
and
too.
clips of the second.
Right, I've only for some reason, my wife and I, we've only managed to watch the first episode twice of the new season. And there's a guy who like can talk to insects. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? I wrote that 6 months ago. You know what I mean? And I have no idea whether he kills people with insects. If he does, I'm fucked. But I wrote it without knowing.
oh, it no, Leech Lady was doing it in Puppet Master way back in the day. It,
Right. So the
but
idea has been done a million times already anyway.
and
And that's a
ambient,
good.
but
Yeah.
it's still a good idea, you know. You have a different side of it. That's one of those
Mhm.
things where, yeah,
Yeah, and the guy's a rock and roll guitar player. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, to be honest with you, I like my work with Eclipse isn't by chance. Back in 2015, when I put out Phantom Effect, my third novel, I was new to social media. I'm an old head, and I got on Twitter and I would tweet about the book, and I'd get 2 likes. I'm sure I got no sales, and I thought I got to tweet about something different. So I thought I'm a professor of English. I teach how to do an analysis. Why can't I analyze music? Because I love it so much from when I did it when I was younger. And Ravenscroft, actually, Ralph Busso's band, or Ralph Romano in the book, he was my first review. But my first Eclipse band was Saint Diablo, who is also in the band. And I do want to tell you this, I got to give him props. Tito Quinones, who plays the Rock Reaper in the book, is a real guy. I've written on about Saint Diablo for 10 years. We're friends. I've talked to him on the phone 3 times. He was the first Eclipse band that I wrote about, and then I got to know Chris, the president of Eclipse, and now I'm doing the site bios for everybody. But I was talking to him on the phone back in like 2016, and he said, Mike, I have this idea for a horror movie. And I go, tell me, man. And he goes, what if it was a rock star? First of all, you could have him wear a mask like Slipknot so nobody knows what he looks like. And then he moves to another city the next day. Nobody's questioning him. And I was like, oh, so I'm writing this book and I think I don't want to steal his idea. So I decided to make him a character, which I got permission from Eclipse to do. And I made him a character and I literally reinvented his idea and put it in the book. And interestingly, he's going to be advertising the book, saying, "Hey, I'm a lead character in here," and I think we're getting like all of the socials together for October 24th. So that's where that comes from. I mean, a lot of this book is about my real life, man. I can't help it. You know what I mean? And I'm a whore. I am a whore, a hoa. I will use anything in my life or your life or anybody's life so I can finish the fucking chapter. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And this book was so beautiful for me because there was so much to take from once I let go of the idea that I have to make every chapter perfect. The imperfections ended up becoming the book.
now I have a quick question for you. This is gonna sound odd. I should have looked this up beforehand, but is Chris Poland, who runs Eclipse Record, also the Chris Poland from Megadeth?
No,
Okay.
unless right, unless there's something going on that I don't know about. No, this is a different Chris Poland. I don't think this
Okay.
dude was ever in Megadeth. That's a great question, though. I'm going to ask Chris the next time I talk to him.
Well, I wondered because I've just seen Chris Poland 2 years in a row at Terrificon. One of my other shows that I'm on that Jeremy here, hi Jar, uh, was saying hi to us is on that as well, and it's a comic book show, and we go out and do Terrificon out in Connecticut every year, and Megadeth has been there too. Well, Chris Poland from Megadeth
Yeah.
has been there 2 years in a row, and he's releasing like a book. Somebody's co-writing kind of like his biography with him. And it's like one of our most watched panels that we recorded was him. And I was like, but I didn't know that he ran a record company too. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
must be a different person, just coincidentally had, in the same biz.
That has the
Y-
same name.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I can't imagine him being part of a band. I'm going to tell you. I've interviewed more than 150 musicians, and I usually don't have to take notes, but sometimes I do. There is one article that I never wrote. For Metalheads Forever, I was going to volunteer an article on Chris Poland from Eclipse. And I got him on the phone and I was going to take notes. And I didn't even have the phone on speaker. I had it up to my ear. And he started talking and I couldn't keep up. And then I put him on speaker and I couldn't keep up. I am telling you right now, this is the most intelligent human being I have ever met in my life. He is so complex. What he does to promote and onboard bands and to keep that record company going, it's impossible to write a review because it's that complex. And my dad, let me tell you, my dad helped invent the laser. He was a real rocket scientist. My brother was a real rocket scientist with Daddy Bush. When we were, bombing Iraq and they were sending Scuds to Israel in the early 90s, we had Patriot missiles. My brother helped invent that. And I'm telling you right now, Chris Poland puts them to shame. And it's not about shame. He is the most intelligent human being I've ever met. I'm really lucky to be connected with him. And I'm sure you dude from Megadeth, I'd love to meet him. I don't think they're the same guy.
No,
I just don't think he would have the time.
based on what you're saying, and it's not that I'm saying that Chris Poland from Megadeth is not an intelligent human being, but
Oh, I bet he is.
he is not nearly as loquacious as what you're describing. So
Mhm.
I'm guessing that yeah, because they were talking about he brings a friend with him and they're doing the stories for the thing and he has to have somebody, he'll be like telling a story and then his biographer will like have to call up somebody else that was in the band with him because he'll be like, and it was great, I just can't remember how it ended. So he has
Oh,
to like call up somebody else and be like, do you remember this incident with Chris? Do you know what
oh,
happened here?
wow.
So
Yeah, no, I have that problem too. Very often when I'm teaching my classes, I'll be talking about something and then that'll remind me of something and I'll go off on a tangent and then that'll lead somewhere else and then that'll lead somewhere else. And I'm usually really good at bringing it back around, but sometimes I'm like, what the fuck were we just talking about?
you gotta grab the circle. I love it. I do tangent. I have a freaking squirrel because I squirrel off all over the place. But
That's very cute, by the way.
yeah, he is. He's my emotional support squirrel.
Yep.
But yeah, I got to where I had to like I would be really proud of myself if I could remember like, okay, I went from here to here to here to here to here to here. And like when I'm out there, it's like if you can bring it back all the way through every point that you went and why that was important and related to this,
You're
you
a
get a gold
genius.
star, just like little thumbs up. Um, but we've kind of gone all over the place, and Jenny had wanted to ask you a question. Fred had wanted to ask you a question before.
Yeah, I had a
Eh,
couple of questions, but my kid came home sick, so I had to help with that real quick.
Sure.
How many of the different killers, because I know the exterminator, or at least I'm thinking it's the exterminator,
was the exterminator from the omnibus of short stories. And I was wondering if there were any others in your short stories that were taken for the serial killers.
Oh, that's a great question. And thank you for that deep dive, man. Yeah, my pandemic project was to take all of my best short stories and rewrite them. And I did it. It took me a little while. And one of them was the exterminator, who is a clown who kills people. Um, yeah, I really like that character. And actually, I mean, they're up behind me here. I'm not sure. I think it's that one. Uh, I don't know if you've heard of the horror artist Lynn Hansen. She's has a 2-year waiting list, and she did my first novel, Alice Walks, the electronic version.
Oh, this is about the clown being you.
Yes. Oh my God, how did you know that? How did you know that?
I told you I did a deep dive on you earlier.
Oh
She
man.
I wanted to know about you.
I mean, I feel like I'm being investigated by the fucking CIA. Yo, that's awesome. Yeah. And what she did was she asked me, what do you want the artwork to be on the cover? And I said, I don't know. And The Exterminator has always been one of my personal favorites, but it's never one of other people's favorites. And she, focused in on that. And that's how she did the cover to Dancing with Tombstones. And when I first saw the cover, I had 3 reactions. I looked at it and I went, that is fucking cool. And then I looked closer and I'm like, wait a minute, that's me. I'm a fucking clown. And then I was like, my third reaction was, that's a badge of honor in the horror industry, man. I'll take it. Let's go. Now, Cody the clown, the character in Blood Red Meta, the new book, has no similarities to the original. But you are absolutely right. That's the only 2 times I've done a killer clown. And the reason why is that Cody, another level of meta, the real Cody Kennedy, who I'm going to get to watch this, I'm sure he'll get a big laugh out of it when we mention his name. He was really a clown, just like in the book. His family was in the circus and he was a clown. And I was wondering what he was going to think of the novel, actually, because there's a lot of him in it that's real. And there's a lot of me in it that's real. And his answer was, I'm not a reader, but I finished it in 2 sittings. And that's all I needed to hear. To me, that's huge, because a lot of people don't read anymore, or they act like they don't. They really do. We live in the most literate fucking generation ever because of social media. I mean, people would rather write text than talk to people. But the fact that he read it in 2 sittings, I knew I was okay. Thank God. But thank you for that question. I can't believe you knew about that story.
Oh, she knows everything. Like, between the 2 of us, depending upon like who has time for what different things, we
Sure.
are like the most extremely expert stalking crew in the world. But she finds things I have no idea where to get to. So you made me think of stuff because you reference comic books, and I do a lot of things with
made
comic
notes.
books. Oh, she's like, look at these notes. She's like taking pictures of her notes rather than like just writing it down. She's just like sending me pictures of her notebook.
That's so cool.
So you got me thinking.
May I ask one more question?
Oh yes,
because I really wanted to know, now that you have come this far after a lot of your books have written, how do you now feel about accidentally adding comedy to your books and with having no meaning to do so?
Yeah. Who's the guy who was in Sinister and he's in the Black Phone movie? Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke said that when he did Sinister, he never realized that horror and comedy had the same rhythm. And they sort of do. Now, up until Blood Red Meta, I never would have considered doing comedy because I don't think I'm very funny. I think I know the right one-liners to do to my college students, but that's not really comedy. They're forced to sit there in their little jail cells or desks or whatever you call them, and they've got to pay attention. They've got to be nice for the most part because they want an A. And that being said, I love teaching them, and most of them like taking my classes. But that's not real comedy. If you want real comedy, go to a fucking comedy club when you can hear the bottles clinking and there are 5 people in the audience and a drummer going, but psh, and try to make people laugh. It's just never been the thing that I think I'm able to do. And this was, and it happened by accident Friday, totally by accident. I just started writing it and I realized that I am portraying what's really happening is I am working as hard as I fucking can to write the best killer ever. And then when I look back at it, it's got a million holes in it, which is funny. And then I thought, what if 2 guys start criticizing each other? And then, the original name for the book was The Sweet Red Taste of Extraordinary Violence. And Joe Morey, who runs Weird House, yeah, said that's too many words. I can't fit that in the space that I want. So one of my suggestions was 2 idiots. Because that's kind of what it is. Anybody that read the first 90 pages, like up through Savage Alice, which is, that story in itself is sort of better than the whole novel, but fuck it, I have what I have. And the comments were, these are 2 guys that are almost good, but they're not quite, and it makes it sad and funny and it makes it fly. And I went with it. You know what I mean? If I don't write about my own vulnerabilities, then I'm not a real writer.
Yeah, that was I'd had my notes and it was just like, how do you like get through writing you write the story and then you write the story about writing the story and then you criticize the story and then you write about why you're criticizing the story because either you have a problem with the story or you have a problem with somebody else having a problem with the story and you have a problem with their story, and it went around so many times and it's just like, oh my God. And you can tell you're a professor though too, because every single example of that is another lesson on a form of story writing and
Right.
editing and the creative process. It's like, okay, we're going to do this. Now we're going to write the short story. We're just going to wing it. Now we're going to do a character breakdown and we're going to give and we're doing it from this perspective. Now we're having this guy do it. And he does it completely different than that guy does because he's going to do it on different colored Post-it notes. And each one represents this. And it was just like, oh my God.
And the funny thing about that is it seems like it's hard to do. It's actually the easiest thing I've ever done. Just criticize the chapter before. And the one thing I did have to do was I had to make sure that I tied it up enough to go on to the next character. But I've written a lot of books and I've taught a lot of classes, and I knew when to tie it up and move on. What you just said there, I'm going to watch the recording of this and I'm going to write down every word you just said, because that was the best advertisement for my book that I've ever heard. That was unbelievable. Did you just make that up out of your head? You're like a superhero, man.
I'm a reader. It's what I do.
Yeah,
I read
man.
books when I say things.
She also is a great author herself, so there's that.
Make sure you email me where your books are. I'll buy all of them.
Oh, I'm in a couple of anthologies. It's short stories at this point. I haven't broken out my novel yet, so.
Oh, that's really cool.
And she also is a writer too. So it's an author podcast about a podcast author. We got authors all around. So But we like to talk about the creative process and such. And holy shit, this just, like I said, this blew my mind reading it because I was just constantly like, I wish I could do that. And how do you keep track? I was just like, there has
Right.
to be this in my head, there's like this board and there's like Venn diagrams of crossover stuff and the post-it notes and the pictures and like the murder scene, going on. And it's like, but this person wrote this and this wrote it.
Right.
Oh,
I
Stefan's one of my publishers.
who?
Uh,
Oh,
Steph,
Stefan.
yeah, Stefan, he runs Fractured Mind Publishing. I have to like get my mouth
Hold
back.
on, I want to write that down. That's so cool. Fractured Mind Publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool, man.
But he's awesome. But yeah, I just couldn't. I try to like plan out my stuff, and I'm a pantser as well. You say discovery writing.
Oh, without a doubt.
I just kind of like I have the idea and I can't write it down until I dream it right.
Mhm.
Like I fall asleep focusing on stuff and meditating, and that was something else I wanted to ask you about. Like,
Sure.
when you encountered the section where it was when part 2 started, all of a sudden the characters are like some of the characters are hanging out with their authors, and they're like, "Hey, you need to learn. You need to buck up. You need to have a montage. We're gonna get you fit." And it seemed to me like that reminded me of the way that I write when like I don't know what I'm doing and my characters are like, "Oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. This is what's going to happen with the story. You might
Yep.
have created me, but I'm in charge now." Well, let me tell you. And is that kind of what that was about? Do you have that? Does that happen
Wi-
to you too?
Without a doubt. And I am sure that there are people that are going to think what I'm about to say is real kind of peace, love, and kumbaya and smoke and mirrors. And it's not. Characters start to write themselves. And when they do, y- as an author, you just strap in and go for the ride. There is no doubt that characters speak to you and they start writing their own parts. In fact, a lot of the final section where they're actually in Murder Town and the characters are coming alive, that was the easiest part to write. I was just like, who do you want to go up against? And then they would tell me the one that was the most difficult foe, and I would write that scene. That is not a smoke and mirrors thing that really happens, and when it does, it's almost like magic, but it's real. I want to emphasize that, and yes, that's exactly where that came from.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I and that's why some of my stuff I can't finish because they won't let me. They're like, "You haven't found it yet. Nope, we aren't going to do that, but you haven't found what we are going to do yet."
That's right, because they gain more worth. Every page you finish, the character gains more worth as a speaker to you. I know exactly what you're saying. And discovery writing is, I mean, I'm not saying that it's fun. I'm saying it's the only way I know how to do it. I have two novels that I was writing. It's happened to be twice where I got two-thirds of the way done and I realized that I'm just putting lipstick on a pig and I'm not doing what the characters want. I'm forcing it. I'm good enough to make it a little bit smooth, and I abandoned it. And one was 80,000 pages. The other, I was already up to 130,000, and I scrapped it and I kept stuff for later. I can always cannibalize my old stuff. I never think of it as a failure. I think of it as I'm stocking my bank. But yeah, that has happened to me. Very often, as with Blood Red Meta, I don't know what the ending is going to be until about the halfway point. Usually I want to know by then, and I don't want to know every scene because I don't want to telegraph shit, but I usually know what my big end game is going to be by around halfway done. With this one, I sort of knew because it's a tribute to Ralph, who's a real dude.
Mm.
Um, and I knew that at the end, it was probably going to piss off a lot of readers, but I was just going to have both guys say, nah, let's not do it. Because that's so familiar to me. So many people get together and they don't have a show as good as yours. Your show is tight. You have characters like the one you're wearing right there. You have great questions. You have a whole history. You have guest speakers who are live, like typing you things. This is beautiful what you guys have going. It's not easy. There are so many people that would love to be where you are. And the fact that you're this far down the road being professional, being awesome is incredible. And I know I've tried doing shows like this and I'm not as good as you, not even close.
We appreciate that. Also, Stefan is also a writer, and he can't legally do what his characters tell him to do. And
Yeah, man.
you can also, if you catch up with and learn a little about Stefan, you can join the club with me at some point and be somebody who has killed Stefan Lear. I believe I've killed him 4 times now. That 3 or 4 times that have been published, I think.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I get sneaky about it, and I rearrange the letters in his name to make him into something else. But so I can just keep killing him. Like he's been killed by Loki. He's been killed. It's been fun.
No, that's cool. I'll join that club in a heartbeat.
Okay, one of the other things I wanted to bring up, you pull people in with the shared universal experiences going through the book. And this is one that it absolutely grabbed me because it was so just, yeah, this is absolutely normal. The Captain Crunch thing about like, I'm walking around, I'm eating Captain Crunch. It
Yep.
slices open my goddamn mouth, but
Yes.
I love it anyway. And that was just like, I loved that because I'm like, it's so good, but it hurts to eat it.
Yeah. And it's Cody's guilty pleasure. And he eats it even without milk. He doesn't care. I'll cut the top of my mouth. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? I actually enjoyed writing that little tidbit just because that's me. I like
Yeah.
Captain Crunch, and it cuts the fuck out of my mouth.
And how much research went into, because that guy, I'm trying not to give too many spoilers, but some of the things are just so in depth, and I don't think I'm spoiling things by saying the level of detail into like how to repair all these different tools and machine things out here, how to take a discarded musical instrument and build it into something else, but you're going down to like the very specific types of tools and the this year only release of this specific brand of guitar neck and how you can put things in. How much of that was knowledge and how much of that was I'm just going to research the hell out of things and type in something like, what's an obscure guitar neck to use? You know, what's the,
Right. No, I got you. The answer is twofold. In the Savage Alice chapter, she loves fixing machines. And I am a theater major from Temple University who ended up getting his master's. And I'm talking about myself in third person. What the fuck am I doing? I got my master's in education and then in literature, but I spent 11 years selling power tools. So I always, when I can introduce not only the lifestyle of people who work in that business, but also I can throw around some brand names and what you can do. That's how I wrote Savage Alice's chapter. That came all from my history. When it comes to fixing the violin, the history, I looked up Stradivarius and all that stuff, and that's all available. And then the way she fixed it, the real Cody in real life showed me a git fiddle because somebody turned in a broken fiddle to the music store he works at in real life, and he made a guitar fiddle out of it. That came from a real conversation between Cody and me. And that's how I wrote the Lucifer's Gal chapter where she has the magic git fiddle that lets her play as well as the best guitar players in history and also be a vampire.
And that was so amazing. Just all the little tiny pieces. You guys, when you read this book, because you're going to buy it, it's fucking brilliant.
Please.
And because it's a Weird House release, you have to go out and get go and get the extras. Go get this man's signature on it. It's going to be special. It's going to be fun. You're going to love it. They always put out a beautiful product. If you watch my Facebook feed, I'll be like, I got another Weird House box. I get so excited when I get them. It's a Git fiddle, GUIT fiddle, Stefan. So I'm hip now.
Stefan might not be wrong. I got it verbally from Cody, and he said a Git fiddle, so I just spelled it out. But it might be the spelling you just saw, and if it is, all the power to you. It's a real thing. Cody told me. Have you ever heard like Dimebag Darrell talking about when he plays like big arenas? He loves to grab a harmonic and run it around the rafters. Cody told me that even in smaller spaces, this invention that he literally made does that effect even in smaller spaces, which I think is really cool.
I study the older instruments like the taggle harp, and so I'm a big fan of Wardruna. But
what is that? I'm not going to pretend I know what that is.
This is the Wardruna Bindrune and the
on your arm. Oh, my fault.
Yeah, and the ravens from their
man.
album Kvit Raven. It's a white raven and a black raven, and then their Bindrune.
Okay.
So I think I was the first one who got the tattoo done before, because I posted it on their Reddit, and they're like, oh yeah, I love that, gonna get it done. But I'm a big fan of theirs, and I know Selvig goes back and they make the old instruments, but they do it totally traditionally. Like they're playing bones, and they have hide that they string out, and they have people pull up all sorts of the old way that they created stuff. So I love the instruments that do multiple things or are made from multiple things. It's fun to see if you have the guitar that can resonate like a violin, why wouldn't you?
Right.
You would continue to use that.
Right. It's the natural thing.
But you come up with this, you're like, okay, I got this Stradivarius, and it comes into a store, and I'm going to play with it. I'm going to put it together with all of these other things. I'm going to come up with my own totally inspired musical instrument. And then I'm also going to open up gates from hell, and I'm going to have these New Jersey Devil cups.
Yep.
That are sitting around with playing cards that give me the ability to play different instruments as long as I drink the juice and drain somebody of their blood.
Exactly.
So now I can play and you're very detailed in all of the different guitar players that you're and now she is playing Eddie Van Halen's standard tap tap, and I was
right.
And it's so and it's funny because at the beginning of this, it's just the first letter is just, hi. I like to set things up and kill people. I would like to be part of your podcast, please. And I do these I like to make very cool things. And then it's and then it's oh, well, this clown and this is his thing. And I thought it was just a chapter, but it was actually something that was submitted that was a story that I didn't catch, because some of these are written in different font and some of them are not. And then it's okay, but was that a story or not? And then it's that is so detailed. It's the details taken away from the story, man. I'm going to get more fucking detailed then. You want to know how detailed I can get? I'm going to say how many goddamn Cheerios were in my bowl, or something. That's almost what it gets to for me. And it was just they're just retaliating against each other. And does the writing get better? Does it get worse? I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore. Where is the story? Oh, shit, we're in it. Okay, that's right. I'm going to shoot the professor. I don't know. That's just where I'm at right now. I'm but if I do, does that mean that all three of them are gone? What about Cody? Is Cody real? I'm not sure. Is Cody real? Is Cody not? Do we ask his girlfriend? But if we do, which one?
That's perfect. Again, I want to put that like on a flyer and give that out to people. That's perfect. Yeah, and one of the things that I like about this is that Cody, the character in the book, is really against all of this meta shit. And then all of a sudden, he himself starts getting really good at it. So at least I have a little bit of character evolution, though I don't claim to have any of the standard classic things that make a narrative work. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, I'm telling you, this wrote itself. Talk about characters writing their own piece. It was the easiest thing to write ever because there were no bars, man. There were no guardrails.
I think one of the most perfect characters that you wrote to, because they were so succinct, um, was the soldier's character,
Yeah.
and it's because he had no humanity to him. He
Mhm.
was generated, and each of them were able to do with him what they wanted, but everybody else had this well, slowly developed, at least if they didn't already have a rich backstory and all this, and he was just like, I am this, I can do this, I will be this.
Mhm.
And so there was no like, do they side with this? Do they side with this? Which, what's he going to do? He is there to kill. So
Mhm.
they were just like, oh, if we need a knife, we just grab this character. That's our knife. That's our gun. That's our whatever.
Mhm.
And at first I was a little like sad that they were underwritten. And then I was like, I saw what you did as you were able to use them and at that point in any way you wanted. And it was just like, that's brilliant.
Oh, thank
You
you.
got the scalpel that you just described as a scalpel
Mhm.
and left it at that. There was no like it they were able to be put in the doctor's hand or the surgeon's hand to
Mhm.
use. And there had to be one character like that. And it was great that you did it that way.
Oh,
So
thank you. Yeah, the soldier character, as said in the novel, is based on an assassin that I wrote in a short story. But the guy you're talking about is a cyborg. And most of the characters that think they're going to win this contest are most scared of him because exactly like you said, he has no backstory. He doesn't care. There's no emotion. He is a killer. And that's it. He's a cyborg. And I thought, who is the one that he thinks that he's got to kill? And of course, it's Savage Alice because she has the power of the sun. And then I was thinking, I really didn't know how I was going to match anybody up against Savage Alice because she can burn everything to the ground. And then I thought, like, I invented the tunnel for other reasons. And then all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute, you can drown her. You don't need an ocean. You can still be in the middle of the tenements. But if I have a tunnel, I can flood the tunnels. And that's exactly what the soldier does. And I thought that was perfect. If I were him, I would have gone to the firehouse too. It's the first place I would go. It's got pickaxes, it's got hoses, it's got trucks. It probably has a machine shop. I mean that was the ideal place for him to go. And then his end was perfect too. I love the way he is ended. And I'm not like bragging about the story. I'm just saying I like the way that turned out,
mhm.
especially since he went after her and she's the one who gets him. And I know I'm giving away a spoiler, but it doesn't matter.
Look, I don't
Nobody's
want
gonna
to.
nobody's gonna know where they are in this book anyway. So
True, true. You're gonna jump. And okay, speaking of R, I am in Nebraska. So, what inspired the character choice of having her be from Nebraska?
um because I love Nebraska sports teams. When I think of Nebraska, I think of middle America. Um when I think of Nebraska, I think of all of the wonderful things that I think about when I think of the country. And it wasn't even a choice. She's a cornhusker. That's it. Let's go. And I've never been there. I passed by it because my son went to Arizona State University and we drove a car all the way through. I don't think I went through Nebraska. I went through Oklahoma and that was beautiful too. But
Then you didn't go through Nebraska.
no, it had to be Nebraska.
And I was really impressed. You wrote Nebraska. I went to a country school in Nebraska, and like literally, we had a cornfield on one side, cows on another, and we did our limnology studies in a pond that was owned by a farmer like 2 miles down the road.
Hmm.
And you wrote Small Town, Nebraska, absolutely perfect.
I got lucky.
Being in high school at like about the same age she would have been, I
Hmm.
think, because I'm turning 50 this Halloween, so I'm kind of trying to organize her in my head. Maybe she might have been a little younger than me, but still in a similar roundabout thing. It was like, yeah, I was the girl who was like super. I gotten moved up in. Well, she got moved back in school. I got moved up in school,
Hmm.
and was like the heavy metal girl at the country and/or pop, so it was
Yep.
like,
And
you're the outcast, and
and
people are like,
there were two of you in the whole school.
yeah, James, Uncle Necro, and I, were
Mhm.
like the two metal people in the whole school, and yeah, so we were tight, but it was always weird because yeah, having the names and the little things that you wrote it really well because a lot of people like high school, they have like all these violent scenes. And I mean, yours got to the point of violence, but it wasn't it was different. It wasn't like high school. It wasn't typical high school, like shove somebody into a locker, or like
Mhm.
that. It was very taken out and it had to be done. But, that was how it was for there were just the little whispers, the little comments here and there and the
Right.
stuff in the
Mhm.
school itself, and you did that very well. And not to say that because it really does happen in schools where, like, people are getting beaten up savagely in the hallways, but it didn't happen in small town Nebraska that way,
Mhm.
you know?
And it doesn't
So
happen in most high schools that way. The fight when I taught high school, I'd break up maybe 3 a year. But for the most part, bullying takes on other forms, and they're much more subtle, and they're harder to catch, and they're harder to put your finger on as somebody who's in the administration. Um, but yeah, man, I'm trying to think, where did I think of that character? Because for me, she's one of my favorites. And I think that I started with an image, which is usually the way I start. And I had an image of a woman made of fire. And I thought, what would be cool? And I was not trying to copy Nicolas Cage, but I thought it would be cool if she was like a woman of flame, and she was on a motorcycle with a flaming chainsaw. And I made the character all around that to make it make sense. And remember, I taught public school for a decade. So all the little whispers and stuff like that, I saw all of it. I never saw a school shooting, thank God. But I've been in the hallway when 50 girls are fighting. I've been there. So, and usually it's not that. Usually it's the little whispers and um, the bullying that people take into their adult life. And it's something that I'm really against. I don't like bullying in any way, shape, or form. I mean, even if you're an adult, if you like, just say you're working at the Acme, and you're in the break room, and somebody, says, "Hey, Baldy, how you doing?" And you don't really know them. Now, if my wife said that, I'd laugh and I'd give her a kiss. But if I don't know you and you say that, there's a different meaning to that. And there's a lot of that going around. And I tell my students, actually, it's not officially a part of a lecture, but I say, if somebody does that, stop them right away and put up boundaries, because you're never going to win that. You know what I mean? We've all been involved in that thing where I should win because I'm smarter. And then they say something and then you go home and you rehearse. Like, if she says this, I'm gonna say that. And nobody wins because everybody has flaws. We're all human. So the best thing to do is to take them aside, even if they say you have thin skin, even if they say you're taking it too seriously, or no, I didn't say that, or whatever the fuck they say. You say, we're not going to do that anymore. That's done. Now, between me and you, even that's an illusion because they could just fuck with you again, but usually they don't, because what you've done is something actually very aggressive. You've said that if that happens again, we're going to have a discussion again. And 98% of the time that works. Now, I'm not anybody's dad. I'm not trying to give anybody advice. I'm just saying that I hate that shit. I hate that shit. I hated it when I got tied up in it when I was like in my 30s, working in the tool house, busting people's balls. It's no good. It never works. I'd rather make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alice was a big part of that. Like when Gus is whispering behind her back, I felt that. I felt that. Like I wrote that chapter. I never write anything for a political purpose, but I wrote that because it's how I feel, and I felt what she felt. That's why I like her chapter so much, because I felt like her before.
Yeah. She really resonated with me beyond being in Nebraska. And it was like, you just writing me up here, Michael? Is that what you're doing? And I just have to ask you real quick. Were were you referring to Ghostwriter when you talked about Nicolas Cage just now?
Yeah. I've had
He
people say that
but
he's on flame on a motorcycle and that it's similar.
he portrayed one of the characters of Ghostwriter in a movie, but please, as a comic book fan whose first major signed white whale comic was a Ghostwriter issue from Howard Mackie signing it for me, do not ever give credit to Nicolas Cage for anything other than being cast in the role of Ghostwriter, as his
Gotcha.
creators were. I know you're a DC over Marvel person. I get it. But Ghostwriter, man, it's the chains and such that you're describing that goes with that one. Javier Saltares and Howard Mackie are the ones that put together that particular Ghostwriter.
Mhm.
But which is different than what you created.
Thank God.
Flaming person on, yeah, a flaming person on a motorcycle. That's fine, but you got the chainsaw. That's awesome, and it transforms into a horse or whatever. Like when I'm reading that and they're like, they saw a motorcycle and this person saw, what was the type of horse?
Andalusian warhorse.
Thank you. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's an A word. I can't remember it though. I'm like, that's just insane. And God damn it, Stefan, you know this about me. I, I have a personal issue with Nicolas Cage, but yeah. Um, so I'm like, I can't let this stand.
No. I'm glad that you let me know what the poop is, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
no,
he
I never want to step on. Uh, comic Comics are important. In fact, I think a lot of horror writers in the next 20 years are just going to go into video games and comics because that's the best place for them. Um, uh, Horror writing is different than horror movies, and I love horror movies and I love jump scares. If you want to understand why horror movies are great, watch a good horror movie with 20 teenagers and watch like the Rocky Horror fucking Picture Show when they throw stuff at the screen and say, don't fall down, don't drop the knife, don't go down that hallway, don't split up. I mean, it's fun. But there's a kind of like a disconnect when you write horror books because it's harder to do jump scares. I can't. I love Stephen King, but I can't remember any time where I was reading it and went, "Oh," maybe when I was reading The Shining and I saw the lady in the tub, Yeah, but most of it is more of a slow burn. And also, I think that horror books are literary in a way that horror movies aren't. Like for me, the best two horror movies are Silence of the Lambs and Seven, and they are horror movies. They're detective horror, kind of in the tradition of Edgar Allan Poe. Um, but a lot of them aren't good like that. Well, horror books are trying to be good, and at the same time, if you like horror, you not only like literary writing, but you also have a 14-year-old in you going, yeah. And that, like, a lot of people don't have kind of that dichotomy going on within them. And that's why horror books have such a hard time. And why aren't there more horror books that include themes of heavy metal? Right? I mean,
Hmm.
Black Sabbath introduced horror metal. Alice Cooper was doing it too, but I
Hmm.
mean, they go together. Watch any Slayer video. It's like raining blood, the whole nine yards. There are always crosses and skulls and crucifixions and whatever. What's in the box? Yeah, I just saw what was written there. But how come they're all the movies that are horror have metal in them? But how come books don't have metal in them that are horror? And that's why I write a lot of stuff that has that theme, because I think it's just underplayed.
Oh yeah, and this is where I've been talking. I'm on this show and a couple others on this podcast on this network, and then we're under the Dorkening umbrella, which also has Splash Pages, which is the comic book show I'm on. And then I was on as a guest on one of the other shows, Retro Red Octopus, when we had Ellen Datlow on
Ooh,
a little bit ago and talking about her latest release, Night and Day. And like so it's super fun, but we were talking about how there is this just huge resurgence, like, and upswelling of horror in every genre lately. I've
right.
I've seen it in all the comics because I pick up I'm reading The Incredible Hulk, and it is
Nice.
like, when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, Hulk smash. Woo, that's fun. This is stupid." And now it's just like, "Oh my god, Philip Kennedy Johnson has, like, Monsters from Hell coming up, and, like, the Hulk is in it's insane." I mean, it's been great since Al Ewing brought up Immortal Hulk, but we're not getting fully deep in this. But yeah, they're bringing into, like, not just horror comics themselves, but into the superhero comics. They're bringing the horror in. Movies everywhere. We're bringing in a shit ton of horror, and I think what you're going for with a book or a comic book, instead of it being a jump scare, I think of it as a dread drop. It's
Oh,
that
hold
stomach
on.
sinking, just like,
I got to write that down. Dread drop.
yeah, it's just like that minute where you're like, it's really just gonna, oh my fucking god,
Hmm.
and the second in Misery when the hammer comes up, and you're just like,
When he
it
gets
makes you
hobbled.
sick. Yeah,
Yeah.
when it just makes you sick to your stomach because you realize what's gonna happen that
Hmm.
you can't do anything about, that's, I think, the equivalent to me of
Of a
what
jump
a jump
scare.
scare
Yeah.
would be.
A
You
dread
know,
drop. I'm gonna tell you right now. I am going to teach that tomorrow. I'm gonna fit it in somewhere, and I'm gonna pretend that I thought of it. The
you
dread drop.
you sir are welcome to it.
No, yeah, I'll give you the credit where credit is due. Yeah, that's awesome, and I think that a lot of horror writers are trying for dread drops all the way through the book.
Yeah, you have to place them right though, because otherwise it's just a trope.
Noise. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just noise.
It but that's something else that you did with this is there your whole book is noise, but it's not, but it is. I,
Yeah, I
but
get it.
you haven't, you guys, you have no idea what you are missing by. You have to go out. Trust me, just read this. It is an experience. It is something I've not read before. It is it, it is a horror story, but it is written in such a way that you are everywhere. What was the movie that just came out?
It is
Everything
so
everywhere all at once or something like it's.
Yeah, the Michelle Yeoh movie.
okay,
You're coming from every
guys.
perspective
It is like
everywhere.
it's like a guitar battle in a book. Okay, that is like when I was reading it. This is the first thing I thought. This is like a guitar battle, man. It is one of the coolest things. It is. You must read it, please.
Oh, thank you guys. Yes, you must read it.
You must. We shall make you. I no, really. I can't recommend it enough. It just and thank you. It's been a real palate cleanser too from a lot of stuff that I've been reading because it's October, so people are bringing out more horror. I mean, it's like, oh, it's October. I must now read horror.
Right.
I read horror all. It's what I do. It's how I survive. I'm that girl, and which is why I related so much with Savage Alice. Um, I just didn't have a thing for fire, but yeah, this is it. The way it's written, you might get a slight. It's starting to edge on like, am I gonna have a headache? No. Okay, it backed off. I was getting confused here. What's going? Oh, okay. Now, can I trust that though? I
Nope.
don't know. You can't trust anything that's written in this book. Everything you're reading, you're like, who wrote it? Well, this guy said that he wrote it, but that guy said that he wrote it. But is he writing him or is he writing him? I don't know. Is anybody writing this? Did this guy write it? I think this fucking squirrel actually wrote this book, and and we brought you on to make it a distraction. So it all
Right.
wraps around really to this guy.
I'm being paid very well to act like I wrote that book.
Yes, yes, you are. With little sleeves of like honey Jim Beam and
Yeah, man.
peanut flavored whiskey. It's no, so we were talking before the show, and you said too that you've been watching and you'd listed a bunch of different horror movies that you've seen. And
Yeah.
we, like I said, we do horror movie reviews, but usually for like shitty horror movies is what we like to do because everybody likes to tune in to hear how we were tortured by having to watch something horrible.
Sure.
But what are the good horror movies that you have watched recently and or had watched before and what you're planning on watching? And what do you like about the horror movie genre in general? Like which kind of horror movies stick for you and nail the landing?
Yeah. I have my list right here. I don't really have to look at it. The best movie of 2024 for me. They called it horror. I don't think it was. I think it was more of a thriller, but it's called Strange Darling. It's a serial killer movie shot on 35 millimeter camera, I think it was. I might be wrong on my millimeters. And they do it in chapters out of sequence. And it's just a great ride, front to back. Well filmed, well written. I figured out what the big twist was about 20 minutes before I should have, or they wanted me to. But that was good. Now, remember, when I say I like a movie, it's always controversial because there are going to be people that say they didn't. And I'm not trying to lose friends here, but I'm going to tell you the ones I didn't like too. The first one that comes up is Smile 2. Big fucking disappointment. Beautifully filmed, shitty script. The Substance, awful. I did not like The Substance at all. I thought Demi Moore did a great job, and they worked really hard to make the cameras look like shoot things that look good, but it was a shitty script, and I didn't buy it, and I thought it was cheesy. I loved, and a lot of people didn't, but I loved In a Violent Nature. And that one is sort of like you have to imagine that it's Jason Voorhees, but there's no horror soundtrack. Like there's no non-diegetic orchestra music going when you're supposed to be scared. It's just the natural diegetic sounds. And the camera is right behind the shoulder of the serial killer, so there are no surprises because he's going there. But I thought it was beautifully filmed. I liked it, and I like a good kill. Like anybody, I'm a horror writer, and the kill he does on the yoga girl is classic. I don't think it's anatomically possible, but it was good. I did see some classics as well. I saw Irreversible, which is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, ever. But it also had I'll never watch it again.
Oh,
It has a rape scene that there are no camera cuts. You're right down at ground level where it's happening, face on. They're facing you. And it was horrible in a bad way. And I'll never watch that movie again, but it was so well done for what it was. I want to add something. That's not the best scene in the movie, even though it's good for what it tried to do. The best scene in that movie is the killing with the fire hydrant in the bar. I've never seen anything like that. So that was awesome. I saw a lot of movies last year. And a lot of classics. Audition to me was a big letdown. Red Rooms was really, really good. Clown was good, even though it was real low budget. There was one. It's not Motel Hell. It's something that sounds like that, like Hell Hotel LLC, and it's a found footage about these young people who are renting out an old hotel, and they're going to make a fun house out of it. And they slowly get haunted as they're setting it up. And then the night that they open, it's like 15 people die. And I'm going to say that it was not a good movie, but out of all of them that I saw, it was the one that frightened me the most. I had more scenes where I was feeling like it was trepidation. Um, Here, I'm getting this out right here. I'm going to look at it. Starry Eyes was okay. I loved a sleeper that nobody saw called Butterfly Kisses. That's a meta on meta on meta movie found footage. I don't know. I don't want to like take your time looking at my old list. Those are the ones that really got to me the most. I saw an old one called Hereditary, and that was good too.
oh yeah. That yeah, that one had some I like that's the one with the miniatures.
No, that's stop motion. Stop motion was great with the little miniatures that are doing the claymation stuff, and she realizes
Yeah.
she has to use human flesh. That was really good. That was a great sleeper. I gave that like 9 out of 10.
Now, have you seen? I've already told you my favorite my favorite movie is Exorcist 3. It doesn't matter what genre. Um, Two other ones that I'll bring up that are more of a slow burn are Session 9, which is just this brilliant movie that it's filmed in Danvers, the old closed down mental hospital, and it's
Mhm.
before they tore it all down, so they're actually on scene at Danvers when they're filming it. And then In the Mouth of Madness. Uh,
I didn't see either of these. That's cool. What was that one
okay,
about?
it's a John Carpenter flick, and what it is do you read Sutter Kane? This author who has written a universe, and it's kind of a cosmic horror tie-in to think about if somebody wrote an entire universe and they had enough people believing in it that it came to life.
Mm,
So, like in my mind when I was younger, I was like, okay, so it's like if enough people believed in Narnia,
right?
you might be able to fall through the wardrobe, right? Or walk through a gate and end up there. but this is a horror universe. And it's somebody who's pulling upon like people's belief to summon these like horror beings in from like the Cthulhu realm kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it's glory, and people are going insane, and it's just this glorious slow build thing where like suddenly you'll start being scared, and it's not a jump scare, but this car is driving and it keeps driving down the road, and you see this kid riding by on his bicycle with little the baseball, or no, the playing cards like in the
In the spokes, yeah.
and then suddenly there's this old man riding the same bicycle in the same outfit with long hair drooping as he's trying to escape, and he's never able to escape and keeps going. And it's like little things like that. It's not the jump scares that get you, it's the, "Oh my god, this has been going on forever and they cannot
Yeah.
leave," kind of feel to it.
Mhm.
And I I love haunted houses. I love possession types of things, but those 2 are Session 9, it takes place in Danvers, and it's following, like, people in a small, like, industrial cleaning service and their lives and how they relate to each other, and somebody's sleeping with somebody else's ex-wife, and this is going on, and this is going on. But this other guy's been on his breaks, he found a room where he's listening to the tapes of the recorded interviews of somebody's sessions, and it's somebody with multiple personality disorders, and it's building up to the 9th session of the show. And I have never had the creep up the spine and just the, like, horrid fascination with somebody as hearing Simon say, "Hello, doc,"
Oh, wow.
talking, and, like, the only time you hear them say, and realizing later it was a female who voiced this character, but it's one of the most shiver-inducing things in the world. It's like the movie's over, but it's telling you how it happened and why it happened, and you're just like, "What the fuck?"
Mhm.
So those are 2 that I would highly recommend that you check out.
Give me the title
The
of the one you were just talking about again.
that is Session 9.
Session 9. I agree with her. That is one of my most favorites.
It
Really?
is very slow burn, but
Mhm.
it is so worth it. And the other one is In the Mouth of Madness, and that's a John Carpenter thing, so and Sam Elliott's in it, so you're like, "Yeah, a guaranteed win this."
Nice. Yeah, man. Thank you for the recommendations. Yeah,
Oh,
coming up this
absolutely.
break, I'm gonna probably do it again. See as many as I can.
I will give you a list, sir, and I will watch things that you have suggested because I need like I like to joke in The Exorcist 3 Legion, Ed Flanders' character has seen It's a Wonderful Life 37 times, and I'm always like, how they're like, "How many times have you seen The Exorcist 3?" I'm like, "37 times." No, it's like in the triple digits. Like seriously, I catch something like some little thing, it's like, "Oh, wait, in the introduction, I never noticed that way off in the distance over there, when the
Mhm.
name credits are running here, there's somebody running across the street, and
Right.
it's a priest in the middle of the night." Okay,
Yeah,
but
the best movies are when you can look at it and find something different every time. Same with the books.
so yeah,
Mhm.
sorry by the way that we totally went off like on movies and stuff, but
I love movies, man.
well, yeah, how would
We
you
taught a
turn the
class about movies.
I
how would you
I
do
did.
this?
I taught one class. I taught a film class for the University of Delaware. It was like a 200 level class, which was cool for me because I usually teach freshmen. And it was during the pandemic, and we had 36 kids in that class, and not many of them showed their face. They put their name up, with the camera. But I had so few absences because all we did was talk about movies. That's all we did. We talked about, and I did like the book that I had was really cool. It talked about like how they did the Neo back thing with the bullets in the Matrix, and they bring the camera around 360. They said technically how they did stuff,
Oh
and
wow.
I brought in all my favorite movies. We watched Joker, Goodfellas. We watched Halloween 1. I mean, it was a great class. Now, are you telling me that you're aware that I taught a film class, or did I just jump on that wrong?
Yes, I did. I did not mean to mute you, Dell. I was trying to unmute me. Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's why I said it.
Oh, that's so funny, man. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk movies all day. I don't think that there are horror books without horror movies.
Ask her about what
No.
onesie you were wearing on your first birthday. She'll tell you.
I am
She
not
knows.
that. I did not go that far, but I do know, dear viewers, he does know why and which two places Dante's middle and first name came from. So he is definitely one of our people. Dante Michael. So yes, he is awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. I have no idea how to answer what you just said because you just lost me. But if you say I know it, I know it.
You-
Well, you in the book, you had talked about Dante's circles of hell, so
Right.
automatically
by the way,
you know about that, and then you saw Halloween how many times in your life?
I saw who?
Halloween.
Oh, how many times have I seen I mean, we watch it at Christmas. I've seen it's our Christmas one of our Christmas movies. I've seen Halloween at least 35 times, I guess. 40. I don't know how many I said and where. Yeah, you research really well, man. You find stuff that I don't even remember.
So yeah,
yeah.
you get the
She
idea of why Dante Michael goes well together.
Yeah, Dante Michael. Yeah. I mean, I've always been fascinated with the nine concentric circles of hell. Actually, it's funny. Not funny, haha, but funny, ironic. I'm actually teaching the book at two of my universities right now. Like
Mhm.
my classes that I go to tomorrow, they had to read the first 51 pages, and I think Lucifer's Gal is in there. And one of my questions is, how would you rewrite the scene where I talked about the nine concentric circles of hell, but I made it two with the place cards and the cups?
mhm.
And my message to them is, I think that I made a lot of allusions to guitar players that a lot of people wouldn't know. Now, this is a guitar player character. How would you rewrite the scene? And I can guarantee you they're not going to be able to go on fucking Chat GPT and find that answer.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. We could get into this, forever. Um, but it's a shame that a lot of English teachers are coming up with assignments that are trying to beat Chat GPT instead of doing what they want it to do. And for me, I know that kind of flowery garbage as soon as I see it. So I don't really have a problem with it. And I even have an assignment where I have them use ChatGPT and then tell me how they would change it. But tomorrow I'm literally going to have the discussion. How would you change Lucifer's Gal's chapter to make it more accessible to people who don't like metal? And I'm very curious to see what the students say. Because if there's one chapter in the whole thing that I absolutely love, but I think one small part has to be rewritten, it would be that part. I don't know if I buy the circles of place cards and all the guitar players and the drink and how does that work and what are the rules and all that stuff. I think I knew when I was writing it what I wanted to say, but when I look back at it 6 months later, I'm kind of, we always think we could do something better. That's the one I'd like to look at a little closer. So I'll let my students do the work. Yes.
Hey,
Excuse me, Mr. Professor. How many students do you have that are going to be doing this assignment?
45? No, wait. 65.
I'm placing a bet that I want to say 7, but I think I'm undercutting it. But I'm going to say 7 replies are going to involve Taylor Swift.
Really?
Yes.
That's so cool. I don't mind. Hey, I like
I
Taylor Swift, man.
I have no opinion. I'm old enough that I don't really listen. I listen to old radio because that's my radio, you know? Like
Sure.
the classics are now the oldie goldies are now what I grew up with.
Hmm.
And so I'm just like, okay. I've never listened to her on purpose. I haven't like pushed her out. She just doesn't show up in my stuff. I just know how like it's the Taylor Swift phenom. And she
Uh-huh.
just had new things hitting the news, so I'm
Yeah,
betting that for you.
she is incredibly good. She is exemplifying the idea that you write stuff early in your career that appeals to young girls. At every party 15 years ago, 16, 17 years ago, Taylor Swift music was part of the party music. They grew up with it. And now they're in college and they're like, this is what I loved in my childhood. Hey man, I heard Deep Purple Machine Head for the first time in 1973. So now every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, Smoke on the Water, man, let's go. So that's where that appeal is. Um, I appreciate her. I watched the movie about the Eras tour, and she gets up there with nobody around her on a stage the size of a football field, theater in the round in a leotard, and can entertain everybody. Hey, all the power to you. You
That's
know what I mean?
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I I'm going to send you an email, and I'm
Okay.
going to let you know how many of the students involved Taylor Swift because they're going to email me back their answers.
Okay. I'm just really interested because I think that would be fun. I I love work. I enjoy, I guess, I enjoy fan fiction almost as a form of not critique. Well, maybe as a form of critiquing. Like I've noticed that I I like to read fan fiction as an editor because it clears up my brain because a lot of fan fiction writers can't write. So when I need to edit something, I like read a couple chapters of fanfic and I'm ready to encounter every common error whatsoever. But they also pick up on things that like the author didn't get right or that they think the author didn't get right.
Mhm.
And so when you're writing, like if you're having somebody write your version of that chapter, they're going to look at it and be like, well, based on my life experiences,
Right.
what doesn't make sense here? What did
Mhm.
he fuck up? You know, it
Mhm.
in my mind, because it doesn't match what they, you know, you're into rock. You're like Eddie Van Halen, fuck yeah, you know, Ingrid
Mhm.
Malmsteen, yeah, I got this, I got this, I got this,
Sure.
and they're like, what?
Yeah, it's funny. We do what's called a multimodal project first with all these students, and they have to make a reaction video. And it amazes me that 95% of the projects, which are great, but what they analyze is the story of the video that they're seeing acted out and lip synced in front of them. And like they'll do Taylor Swift and Beyonce and like all these modern pop stars, and very rarely do they mention the vocal. And I'm like, it's a music video. Like where's the appreciation for the music? And I think that kids are thinking of the music as the soundtrack now. And the main deal is
Yeah.
the images that they're seeing. So you're going to love this. For my compare contrast unit, it's my favorite day. I look forward to this day every semester. And I show them, have you ever heard of the artist Dorothy? She's on Rock Nation Records. She's a really good singer. She's about 39 years old. She calls herself Cowgirl Metal. I saw her at an outdoor concert sponsored by the biggest rock radio station here in Philly. I actually saw it in Camden, New Jersey, right across the river. Um, but she's a really good singer, but she doesn't highlight the members of her band. And I literally do a class on what a guitar does. And I say these are the strings, these are the frets, in between is a note. So look at all the mathematical combinations. To be in a rock band, you got to love the guitar first. It's the first thing we think of. The lyrics are the last. It's the guitar. And then I explain to them what a whammy bar is, where it is, what it does, how it lowers the bridge, the whole 9 yards.
Mhm.
Yeah, I talk about a bend. I talk about tapping like Eddie Van Halen does, the whole 9 yards. And I play 3 videos of Dorothy's. And I say, somebody tell me what the guitar player looks like. And they can't because they don't show it. They feature her. She's in a rock band, dude. She needs a guitar player. I say, you're going to choose the guitar player for her. And then I show them 3 videos, and all of them are guitar players sitting down and playing to pre-recorded music, but they're doing a live take all the way through. And I show them Richie Faulkner. He's the guy who was playing for one of the guys who left Judas Priest.
Okay.
I show him Zach Wilde, the guy who used to play with Ozzy, of course. And I show him Sophie Lloyd, she's like 29 years old. She went to like Juilliard, but the equivalent over in London. And she does a lot of that tapping technique. And I say, you choose the guitar player and tell me why you chose them for Dorothy and why you didn't choose the others. And it's the most fun. I get back emails that are epic. They're like so long, and I read every word. Sometimes, like very often, it takes me about a week to get back to everybody because I can only do about 5 a night because there's so much I want to write back. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
hey, you're preaching to the choir, man. I'm a rocker through and through. I grew up in the 70s,
I have a
yo.
question. Okay,
Yes, Brad.
in my class, they had used one particular movie, and I wanted to know if you used anything from the film series at all. How much? Because I know that they use music in their series as well. How much Monty Python have you used in any of your classes?
I have never used Monty Python, and that was such a staple of growing up. I mean, when the guy cuts off the guy's arm and he says it's only a flesh wound, I mean, oh my God! I want to thank you, Friday. I'm going to thank you right now because I have not thought of that. What a brilliant comedy thing to work in. I loved Monty Python and the Holy Grail, man. Loved it.
I have a question for you too, as far as music videos, since you said that your students are taking the music as the last part and the video as the main theme of things. Because
Yes.
we know that back in the day, like I want my MTV, everything started like the videos were like a way to showcase the music
Right.
instead of the opposite. But have you had them watch One by Metallica? Which the video featuring the extended version, in particular, featuring all of the footage from Johnny Got His Gun.
I have not.
Because,
I got to take some notes, man. You guys are giving me so many good things to use in class. It's One by Metallica.
yes, and there are 2 different versions. There's a regular version and there's an extended version. And I don't know if you're familiar with the book Johnny Got His Gun, which
No.
was then a movie. It's about locked-in syndrome, basically. It's a kid who goes off to war and gets blown to fucking bits and ends up back in a hospital room and can't communicate. His arms and his legs are missing. He has something over his face. He's being fed through. I mean, the song is like fed for the tube that sticks in me, just like a wartime novelty. Tied to machines that make me breathe. Take this life out from me. It's all about like, hold my breath as I wish for death. Oh, please, God, wake me. It's somebody who's stuck in their body and can't escape and is
Mm.
picturing like, are they being taken on as a roadside tour of being showcased off? But I can't physically read the book. I have tried. My second cousin gave me the book and I started trying to read it. That locked-in syndrome is one of those things that to me is so terrifying
Yep.
that I can't overcome the comfortability level of it.
Hmm.
And then they made the movie, and it's a really, really old movie. It's not like you haven't tried to redo it recently, which I'm glad for because it would just make it bad. You know what I mean? Like some
Sure.
things are better the first iteration, and it should just stay there. But Metallica took that movie and pulled it into their video, and a lot of and like so the quotes and like some of the talking and stuff is going on inside of the video from the movie. And it's just one of the best things I've ever seen. My sister, I brought home, once again, James, Uncle Necro had brought me 2 of one, and it was like the 2 versions of it in the making of the video by Metallica was a video that you could have. And when I showed it to my sister, she had nightmares of it
Oh,
afterwards.
wow.
And she also had nightmares from Black Hole Sun, the Soundgarden video. But yeah, that is if you want your kids to see a video and like the music is insane and intense and based upon that storyline, but they're so intertwined, the storyline and the video, that I think that would be a great thing to show your students and see what they pull the most from, like which influence, be like the book existed first, the movie existed second, the song and the video existed third. What do you take from this? That
Yeah,
would be a
that's cool.
fabulous lesson.
Oh, without a doubt, and also the music taking more of a forefront.
Yeah, because the song is amazing. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right, Friday? You've
I would have to hear it. I'm not gonna lie, I would have to hear it.
As a metal person, I'm saying
Definitely
like,
recommend it.
so we're going on, like,
Like,
are we keeping you awake?
No,
Or
man.
okay, I
okay,
just wasn't
one
sure,
more
like,
comment and then I will stop. It's just I was listening to the conversation you're having about your students, but my kids, like their first song they ever heard after they were birthed was Enter Sandman, just because it seemed like a cool thing to do. And I just asked them, when it comes to the music videos, what do you take away? Does the video normally stay in your head, or does the music? But also, they're the ones that keep singing the songs. So their first thing was, I automatically take away the music. Because I know, one, she's great at keeping the beat, great at thinking what is where in the video, well, in the music or whatever. So I'm like, that just made me proud. And I'm like, your first thought is what makes up the song. So thank you for giving me that thought process. I'm so glad that it's been such a thing in their life that they think about the music more first than the video.
Yeah,
Okay, no.
music has always been really important to me, man. I think George Bernard Shaw said that he can write the best play in the world, but music affects the heart much faster. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. He was a big music critic too. And that's true. You're never going to prove to me that a visual is better than music. I'm an old school rocker, man. Uh, uh, my cover band in high school, when I was a senior, I graduated and we were the house band for the Hells Angels for a summer. Best summer of my life.
nice.
It was awesome. So you're preaching to the choir here, man.
That, oh my God, that would be so awesome. I have a second cousin who's a Hells Angel, so like all about the music. I still have him actually. I still do. He's too old to, he's too old to ride, but he hasn't died, so that's good. I'm happy.
Yeah, man.
Gonna go visit him sometime soon when we get to where we can use planes again. Okay, this is something that's really, I'm just gonna jump ship and go back 14 years. So in 2011, your story showed up in the year's best dark fantasy and horror,
Yeah.
along with and I'm going through, I know a lot of these names. I don't know how many other people are gonna know, but like the big ones I'm gonna throw out here are like Neil Gaiman,
Yeah.
Joe R. Lansdale, George R. R. Martin, Gene Wolfe, and like, what is that like? Like, do they approach? How did the whole process go? Were they like, "Hey, is that all right if we throw your story in here? Did you submit to it? how did that go? Was it your submission or somebody else submitted you, or how does
I
that
don't
work?
I don't know who submitted me. That story I got a lot of play with, and I have to kind of backtrack and tell you the story of that story.
Okay.
It's about a ghost in a charter school, and I taught in a charter school, and I literally had been.
What
I'm
is a
sorry.
charter school?
Oh, it's a public school, just under a different umbrella, but it is a public school, and the parents advocate to get their kids in.
Okay.
So we were inner city, and it was mostly kids who were failing uh, in whatever school they were in for whatever reason, but they had parents who cared, and they put them into our school. And I taught 10th grade, and I literally, man, when you're teaching in that environment, you better have something to say. If you have downtime for 3 seconds, you're going to lose the class. So I started inventing a ghost story about a ghost who was haunting the room we were in. And the story grew over the years that I was there. And, it was about a ghost named Bria Patterson who haunted this room. And she haunts the bathrooms downstairs, and she says, "Mommy." And it was a lot of bullshit. It wasn't a full story. It was just a bunch of shit. But the students liked it. And I was lucky enough in the very beginning. This goes back to the beginning of publishing in 2009. I got a Borders gift card, and they were a bookstore. They're not anymore. But I went in with my gift card. And I had written horror before, but I had never published it much. And I went in and I bought 17th century ghosts. And it was edited by S.T. Joshi. And I thought he must know where I could send. And I asked him if he would read some stories of mine. I was lucky. I found his email. And I emailed him some sensitive stuff and some horror stuff. And he wrote back and he said, "Your sensitive stuff is very clumsy. It doesn't feel like you're at home, and it's basically unreadable. Your horror is good, but you overwrite." And I thought that was really cool. And then 2 days later, he emails me again and says, "I can't get your stories out of my head. You have 4 stories, and you have 20,000 words. I need 80,000 words. Can you do it? And I'll put your collection through Hippocampus Press." And I was like, this is awesome. What an opportunity. And I wrote a novella called The Toll Booth, which gave me my 80,000 words. And then he said, "Well, we're not going to publish you for a while. You want to call it 5 Deadly Pleasures. Why don't you write 2 more stories? And we'll call it 7 Deadly Pleasures." So the last one I wrote was how Bria died, which is the story of the girl in the charter school that haunts the alcove in the bathroom. And ST was like, "Whoa, this is great." And I was like, okay. And we had that lead off the collection. And then he also convinced Anne Vandermeer, who was the head editor for Weird Tales at that time. And
Okay.
she put it in the Uncanny Beauty issue. From there, I got an email, I don't know, like a year and a half later, from Prime Books. It was Paula, her name is. I can't remember. You know her. Prime Books, Paula. I forget what her last
Oh,
name is.
hold on. Paula Gruran.
Yes. Yes. And she sent me an email and said, "We read your story in Weird Tales. We want to put it in a best of." And I was like, great. And that was it. That was it. It was as simple as that. And I've never landed one in a best of since then. To me, that's just like a stroke of good fortune that you say, wow, that was great.
That's awesome.
It saddened me that 7 Deadly Pleasures is out of print.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
it's old. It came out in 2009, and I have a long relationship with Hippocampus because of my relationship with St. Joshi. I still send
uh-huh.
everything that I write to him first. He's the one who told me
Okay.
about Weird House. Um, but well, I forget what my point was. Oh, I have a relationship that goes back a long time with them, but that was way back in 2009, and I think that it outlived, the contract, and
Mhm.
Derek just wasn't printing it anymore. I have a few titles with Hippocampus, and they are actually publishing my collection called Just Disappear in 2026. They were supposed to do it in 2025, but when ST told me about Weird House and I gave them the book you just read, Weird House, it's never happened to me this fast before. Joe Morey wanted to do it now. And like, I mean, they got the manuscript for Blood Red Meta like in May or June, and it came out in August. That's never happened
Wow.
before. Usually you wait 2 years. So we were going to put out the Hippocampus collection because that was actually written before.
Hmm.
But I'm lucky in the sense that my editor there, Curtis Lawson, knows Derek of Hippocampus, and he sent him an email. Well, when does this happen? This is so cool. When does this fucking happen? My editor from Weird House sent my publisher at Hippocampus, can you put off putting out the collection because we want to put out Blood Red Meta now? And they said, yeah, great, we're all happy. And it's like, I can't believe how beautiful this is.
Curtis.
It just never
Mhm.
happens that way.
Curtis is amazing though, and he will fight for what he wants. Like
Yeah,
that
man.
man, he's he's an amazing just person in general and parent, and then an advocate for people. I don't know if you've read much of his stuff, but he's also a musician and author, and is just crazy good at his craft. Love having him on the show, and I love that he sends me people like you to
Oh, that
meet and to
that
learn
is so
about.
nice. Thank you for saying that. I would say that I haven't read any of his stuff, and I will, but I've listened to his music. He's good.
Yeah. Okay.
He does black metal with the growl vocal, man.
Hmm.
He's right in the pocket. He needs to get a band together. He does most of that stuff himself.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you for him is, and I have like two different hardback versions of it. I have the audio version. I have the Kindle, of course. But I keep every single version of this book that comes out, I buy it. And it's because you appreciate music. The Blackheart Boys Choir um, it's one of his big ones, but you can find it in a couple different ways. And it's written with a focus on music and horror from kids in high school. But if you follow it, and if you watch some of our interviews, we talk about it with it, talk about him, talk about it with him. And like he followed like somebody wrote out some of the score for him to use on the inner lining of one of the books when he released it.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, but there's when you're listening to the audiobook, there's like music will play up in between, and you can hear some of the things happening set to music. And he wrote it, and the chapters and the way things flow are beats and movements in a song, the way the
Nice.
entire story writes. So it like but you don't know that as the reader unless you're really in tune. And once he explains it, you're like, oh yeah, like you
Hmm.
recognize, but unless you really understand music, it's something where you're like you're being led through this story, just like here's your M&Ms, come on, feel this one. Okay,
Sure.
next crescendo, let's go.
Oh, that's
And you
beautiful.
love it, but then when you have it pointed out to you that it's written the way that a musical piece would go, it's just like, oh my God, that's oh dude, you fucking nailed it, you know?
Yeah,
You
man.
get surprised. I love Curtis. Yeah. You have a wonderful person there. So, um, okay, we've been on for 2 hours now. We need to do a quick commercial, if that's
Sure.
okay.
Of course.
Um, Do you want me to grab this, hun? Friday? I got it. Okay. Give us 1 second. We'll be back. And we're going to have you do a reading pretty soon, too.
Sure.
So, all right.
I'll bring it up.
All right. I'm going to put up this ad break. So we'll be back in like 3 minutes, everybody.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductibus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductibus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Oh. Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, we would like to do a quick reading, if you will, if you have time to give everybody a little sample of the book, and then we can chat a little bit more if you'd like, or do whatever. But I do want to have people be able to hear you, so they know what they're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple of things I might read. The first one is really quick. This is the introduction to the book. It's the first pages, and it sort of sets the scene for the meta stuff that's going to happen. I have committed bloody murder many times. It started when I retired from the People First Charter School in downtown Philadelphia, where I taught English to 10th graders and seniors for 3 decades. I was known as a good instructor, a pro, sharp with the product knowledge, quick with the comebacks. Rewarding? Damn straight. A rough ride at times? Absolutely. I had to write up all sorts of official discipline slips throughout my tenure. The worst for a fight between 12 girls in the lunchroom that I was silly and idealistic enough to try and step between. I got socked in the jaw, gouged in the right ear, and scratched across the left cornea for my trouble. The second most serious was the student who hid an ounce of weed in a .32 Beretta Tomcat in the boys' bathroom up under the drop ceiling. Since I had been put out to pasture, You might have heard of me through the news, though local media outlets typically focus on local crime. Therefore, it is probable that you have only gotten a fraction of the story, as I am careful to choose impact locations in different cities to unveil my polished displays of beautiful slaughter. To be clear, however, I am no portrait painter, literally or metaphorically, and I never claimed to be a poet. Yet common sense dictates that crafting a striking tableau of carnage must always involve an initial shock factor, aesthetic imagery, a dark riddle, and a pristine exit strategy. I've killed 6 rapists, 4 abusive boyfriends, 3 wife beaters, 5 racist teachers, and 2 smug CEOs that did nothing to stop in-house bullying between lower employees. Of course, I know that these businessmen committed lesser crimes than the others, but they irritated me the most somehow. I shot both in the heart and took a pair of tin snips and a box cutter to carve out their eyes and replace them with their testicles sewn into the sockets. Both were dumped, or rather placed, in their given neighborhood zoo, in the monkey house, nailed to a tree, dangling, yet finally looking at things with a bigger set of balls. Can I get an amen? Please consider my candidacy for the Killer Be Killed project, podcasting from Murder Town. Moreover, confirm that the grand prize for the last one standing is $5 million, and that the final roster of contestants will be capped at a nice and neat 12. Respectfully, the Red Headmaster.
I verbally said amen, and I think she's still mute.
I muted myself and I said a whole lot of things. Thank you. That was a great way to introduce the book. Because that's what we start off thinking. We're like, okay, here's this, here's the layout, there's the spread. It's really nice. Okay, now we're going to hear about this podcast they plan on doing and the way they're going to do it, and everything's going to flow. Oh, nothing's ever going to flow like that again. No.
Right. The other one that I was thinking of reading, it's a little bit longer, but it's still a very short chapter, is the one that's based on the real life Tito Quinones of Saint Diablo. And as I say later in the book, Tito is the one who came up with this idea. I just wrote it out. So can I go?
Yeah, real quick before you do that, I wanted to know when did Tito present this to you as an idea, or where did you learn that Tito had this idea? Because I know it was in the book, and I was like, I tried researching him a little bit, and I didn't get far enough, I guess.
Yeah, Saint Diablo was the first Eclipse band that I wrote a review about. Now, it wasn't going to go up on the Eclipse site, but I asked Chris Poland if I have permission to do it. I showed it to him first, and he thought that was weird because he thinks of me as a journalist, and I'm not. I'm a writer who loves rock.
Mhm.
And I ended up having a phone call with all 3 of us, and I think a member of his band as well. And he happened to mention, this is way back in 2016, and he happened to mention the idea, why don't we, I've always had the idea, he did, of having a rocker that wears a mask and he kills people, and then he automatically is off into another state so they never catch him. And it was as simple as that. It was a couple of sentences, and then I wrote this. So the way this is framed, what I just read, the Red Headmaster is contestant number 1, that a professor and a guitar player are doing a podcast and invented him. That one was invented by the professor. The one I'm going to read right now was invented by Cody, the guitar player. And this is the Rock Reaper. And this is celebrating Tito Quinones with his real name and celebrating the story that he told me. And it's a short read. I'm talking about 4 minutes. So
You're good, hon.
All righty.
Yeah.
Let's go. Attention creators of the Killer Be Killed project, to take place as a podcast from Murder Town. If you choose to read the cover letter enclosed, it'll be at your own risk. If you reveal the name of the one described, the people associated or the business he, she, or they are involved with will be eliminated. We know where you both live. If participation in this contest is awarded as a result of this letter, you will refer to our candidate as the Rock Reaper. You have been warned. Tito Quinones is the lead singer for the savage Latin metal band Saint Diablo, signed to Eclipse Records, and tonight he is going to brutally butcher another sexual predator. He will get away with it scot-free, and he will be wearing the blood of the victim in the great wide open, spattered on his face and up along his sleek, bald eagle crown like war paint, his trademark stage gimmick. Since Saint Diablo are still considered indie, they have no roadies, so after the set at the TLA Theater on South Street, Philadelphia, he and the boys wearing hoodies with the drawstrings pulled tight, hiding their faces, will clear all the gear and pack it into their 2 equipment vans. They will drive to Baltimore, check into a cheap roadside motel, and sleep off the night. All except Tito. He will shower, then open his laptop to call up the Baltimore State Police website, tabbing to the list of convicted sex offenders, recently freed after serving their sentences. Tomorrow he will go with the band to the Angels Rock Bar at 10 Market Place at 5 p.m. to store their equipment. He will then take his rental car and stake out the neighborhood, this time of one Lewis Tanner, an elementary school teacher jailed for sexually assaulting on the same day at the same location 3rd grader Bonnie McLaren and her grandmother Elizabeth May during a home tutoring visit. The bastard was released to a halfway house after 2 short years. Typical story. The outdoors is painted with gentle brush strokes of the early evening's dying summer sun, and Tito waits in his car across the street from Tanner's home residence, which is one in a row of yuppie apartments with fancy railings and flower boxes bursting with decorative foliage. 5 doors down there is an alley. A half hour before the warm-up act comes on to play their set at Angels at 7 p.m. tonight, Tito will ring Lewis Tanner's doorbell. He will say into the intercom it is a package needing a signature. When Tanner answers, Tito will keep the door open by planting his left elbow into it, take the pistol out of his pocket, flash the silver and raise an eyebrow, like you don't even want to think about running back into the house and having me chase you. Next, jerking his head toward the street, convincing Tanner to come with him to the alley for fun time. To make a skull face. He starts by taking Tanner's cheeks in his palms, the way your mother or auntie would do. But instead of saying in a boo-boo voice, "Ooh, you're so cute," he will dig in his thumbs behind the rapist's eyes, making them roll crazy, like the Google wiggly eyes on a teddy bear. And then he tears them out, slippery little bastards, both popping loose, no souvenir dice to take home tonight. Hands drenched and hot, he grabs Tanner's shirt and trips the dude backward, dropping him to the cement. Though Tito is shredded with biceps like pythons and has a washboard for abs, he needs a better hold, a better angle, better traction. So he gets out the slip joint pliers from his back pocket, forces the mouth open. "Don't you even think about biting me, motherfucker," and clamps the tool tight to the tongue. He puts the sole of his right sneaker flat to Tanner's forehead and gives a 2-handed pull like starting a lawnmower. There is a bright spray of glory like fireworks. He drops the bloody appendage on the victim's chest. Most of these fuckers bleed out. If Tanner lives, the disfigurement will scare away the kiddies, so there will be no chance for grooming. Hey, everyone prevails. Tito balances the scales. He unties the black sweatshirt from his waist and slips it on, pulls up the hood and walks out across the street. Across town at the Angels Rock Bar, the opener is 2 songs into their 45-minute set. In the tradition of Mushroomhead and Slipknot, the band called Jack the Zipper is rocking the joint, all of them wearing burlap scarecrow masks. The singer is supposedly Tito Quinones himself, moonlighting as the lead singer of Jack the Zipper, where he has the opportunity to show off that old school feel with his brilliant tenor voice, unlike the vocal demands for Saint Diablo, mostly based on the primeval growl. Perfect alibi. It is actually his cousin Nico, who could have been Tito's twin, same height and weight, and sporting that awesome tenor voice, smooth as honey. If you choose Tito to represent in Murder Town, you may as well store the $5 million in a locker with his name on it. You come after him, you better have a gun. You also best know that he's packing and that he is a master marksman himself. So, bring it on, bitches.
Love that so much.
Tito!
That was
Bitches. I just love that. And like being able to be like, that's the other thing with your book. Everybody's fucking real. Or if they're not
Right.
real, they are real. They're just somebody else real.
Right. Exactly. Even if they're a fantasy character, they're based on something that is out of somebody's imagination, based on somebody real, based on something they saw as a kid that was real, that was really a cartoon. Right.
I remember when I was like so sad and I was walking into the pond. That was on Little House on the Prairie. Oh yeah. I can't remember what that's from, but there was like somebody was like, I was such a depressed little kid. No, you just watch really shitty TV shows.
Thanks for letting me read aloud, man.
We love having people read aloud. It's so much fun. We
enjoyed
stories
it.
need to be told. And having somebody read their own creation aloud gives them the voice that I love books on I love to read. I love my physical copies. I have this order of it depends on where I get the book from. If I'm getting the book from like Weird House or Rough House or something like that, I'm more than likely buying a numbered or lettered autographed copy of something.
Right.
So I'm going to take that book. I'm going to get that book. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to take a couple pictures. I'm going to sniff that book. I'm going to hug that book and give it a good cuddle. I'm going to wrap it up in bubble tape because I currently don't have cabinets with glass doors to protect them. And I'm going to put it up somewhere. And then I'm going to read it on like a Kindle version or something like that.
Right.
But I also like to buy the audio version because I do like to fall asleep listening to my favorite stories. So if there is an audio version, I love to hear it. And if so, having the author themselves narrate is amazing. But there are some authors who cannot narrate. And there are some narrators that, don't write, but are really good at grabbing somebody else's voice.
Sure.
So when there is somebody like you who can read with enthusiasm and without stumbling and fudging all over the place and read your own work well,
Thank you.
it's fabulous because you get to hear, because I could have read that in a completely different voice and it would have been a totally different story. And that was something else I want to bring up to you. Like we've talked about how many different voices you got, but I mean, did you keep notes of like which voice was going where, or did you keep adding on? Because there seems to be like, this is the professor, this is Cody, this is the professor criticizing Cody's this after he's told us about this, but he's still okay with this part. And this is Cody from this side of things. But it seems like you can jump back and forth on where their attitude is with each other.
Right.
And yeah.
I actually didn't. I mean, I feel like nobody's going to believe me. But I didn't keep notes on what everybody's voice was. They were all so clear to me. And sometimes that happens, So, I mean, I'm not going to start talking about, oh, people channel through me and all that. I respect that. But this is one of those ones that literally I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to keep a concordance of where people were in what year and all that stuff. Or what you're talking about, what voice am I using where? It literally just came to me. I'm sort of embarrassed to say it. It's almost like I wrote the book irresponsibly. But that's what I did.
Well, then it's a fabulously happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say that you wrote it. I cannot say that you wrote it irresponsibly. You were not the first author I've interviewed that Discovery wrote it. And his books are epic. I have went back and reread his. Yours, I get to discover anew now that just gave you to her to interview, and she's like, "You must check out this man." And I'm like, "Oh yes, I must really read all his stuff too."
Oh yeah, I was hopping over and like, okay, time to order this book because it's mentioned in here, and time to order this book. And oh wait, I just earned myself a $50 gift card doing these things. So look what else I can tap on Kindle. Yes.
Yeah, I am so appreciative of
And
you guys reading the book and really reading it close. Means a lot to me.
oh, it was you couldn't not. It was a gripping. It wasn't something where like I have had shows before, and I have had other things where I've read, because I do a lot of shows. Maybe not so much recently on this show, but and you get to where you're kind of like, really? You know? And it's like, okay, I gotta get there's a difference between I gotta get through this book and I get to get through this book. Like I have to, or I am allowed to. And this was one of those like I've been blessed with this book in as far as
Oh,
something that
thank
like
you.
when I started reading it, it wasn't one of those like, well, this will be fun. It was like, ooh, this is fun. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
good. I love
Yeah,
this.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And again, I'm sorry.
it's worth a 6-year-old to be able to get through it and read it.
Yeah, and I think I said this at the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised if I get some press on this where they say it's torture. And like I couldn't follow it, and stuff like that. The thing for me is I could follow it because I didn't have to do what you're talking about, like keeping notes about where I am. But I'm a little bit weird in going off on tangents like we were talking about before. And I think this book is a total tangent. And it's just like, yeah, we're going to follow this and we're going to follow it all the way around here. And it was magic.
Two worlds collided and they could never tear us apart. But it's like you had some brain matter explosions going on, and they just all
True.
sucked into each other.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. Because and seriously, guys, when you read, you have no idea who's real and who's not, and who's writing who, and who's making editorial notes on this person. Like, okay, so is it all from the mind of one person? Maybe. Obviously it's based on a lot of people, but these people write their things and they do things, and as you're reading it, you have no idea who the actual narrator is because it gets hijacked.
Right.
There's one point where they're like battle writing back and forth on laptops, and like Jenny had pointed out earlier, Friday had said, it's like I'm sorry, you do guitar battles, I do drum battles is what I always picture in my head. Like it's like they go back and forth and back and forth. Or the best guitar battle I guess I can say is when what's their name, the two brothers that did comedy and the Smothers Brothers.
Oh yeah.
When they had to like
One had a
Tommy,
banjo.
yeah, Tommy was playing guitar and like the piano player challenges him to dueling banjos.
Right,
And they're
right.
like and he's like and just like cuts the string down. It's like but yeah, it's a fabulous back and forth and back and forth. And I really thought at one point I had this big theory going on that it was like, okay, so they're trapped inside of Murder Town and suddenly they're caught up against this thing and they both start writing together. And I was like, oh, they have this plan from the beginning where they're going to like capture themselves together as a team, that they have all these secret things that they
Right.
did. They're going to put together and they're going to defeat. Nope. They fucking are not going to team up whatsoever with each other. They're like, nah, bro, I do not have your back because I don't trust you at
Mhm.
all. And I'm just like, but I thought they had. Nope, they didn't. So that's kind of a spoiler, but if you can follow what I'm saying in terms of all these vague sentences, then you're doing really good reading the book and you're allowed to have a little bit of a spoiler. because it'll still feel like, is she actually telling the truth? Because I don't know. Because she's on a podcast about this podcast about this podcast with a book about a podcast, and she might be leading me astray because she's holding a fucking squirrel, which
Just like the characters in the book.
yeah. No, it was gorgeous the way everybody weaved together and who owned who, and like you don't even know who owned who because they say this person wrote this person, and then you're like, I swear to God, when I read it, it was this person writing it, and then you're like later on, but they did. But how did? Because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't get to read every page of what happened. We get to read a lot of what happened. But there's still a whole bunch of things that happened that we never get exposed to, but we get hints of them. We get little tantalizing teasers, but we do not get the. But why did she? Who owns? And the AI might have. And then who's got a wife? Is she dead? Is she alive? Are they divorced? Why does she want to speak with a Russian accent? Is she sleeping with him or not? I'm not sure. I never did.
I know exactly what parts you're talking about. And the thing
Yeah.
about the read aloud, those were two of the supposed contestants that are going to be in Murder Town. But what I wasn't able to do, because I just can't fit it in, is all the chapters about what you're talking about, where those are obviously made up, and it's people that are talking about making those characters up and criticizing each other about making those characters up. And that's why the book is called Blood Red Meta. It's about two guys making a podcast who are not great writers. But you know what I look at when I look at these two writers now. In reality, I tried to write the best chapter I could, and then just the next chapter I just criticized myself. But the way this turned out, I believe this is a comedy. It's dark humor, and remember the movie School of Rock with Jack Black, and he goes and he fakes like he's a teacher and uses the kids to make a band to win a battle of the bands. When you look at him, like in the first scene, he's playing with his band that's about to kick him out, and they're in a bar, and his solo comes up, and he's really, playing it up with the moves, and his solo is really good, but it's in the wrong key. And, a lot of people won't know that if they don't play an instrument. They'll just know it doesn't sound perfect. And then he stage dives and nobody catches him and he just lands on the floor. But as he goes through the movie, including that solo, he's really good. Like, he's a good singer. He thinks of really good stage things to do, but he's not quite good enough. He's almost good, but he loves it so much that he just dedicates his whole life to it. And that's what these two characters are. These are two characters who are not really great at doing podcasts, and they're not really great at making stories, and they're not really great at writing. And I had to look at it, with a smile, because I have to laugh at myself, because a lot of this is me criticizing myself, but I kept all my first drafts. It's almost like I made an excuse to write a bunch of neat first drafts.
I like that. I also like how you were using the guitar player as the control, because a lot of times the front man, I mean, you have like lead singer or the guitar player / lead singer. You have in the background your bass player who's keeping everything together.
Of course.
They're just like, I'm going to stand in this fucking hole that they dug in the stage for me and just kind of do this and make sure and I'm going to correct the drummer when they get a little out of hand, because, those drummers every now and then. Right. I come from I'm the only person in my family for multiple generations that didn't play stage instrument.
Really?
Yeah. Like I played the clarinet and the oboe and orchestra bells, and I could at least somewhat sing. I don't know about the voice these days, but but everybody else was like, oh, I play a guitar. Oh, I'm in a band. I'm in this band. I'm in that band. I play the electric bass. I play this. I play everything, and I'm just like, I can keep a beat in my head. I can't actually tap it out with my hand. I end up like Steve Martin in The Jerk, but I know that I'm wrong, so at least I'm actually able to keep track of the timing. I'm just not able
Mhm.
to maintain it. Um, but yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have the kiddo was a bass player, and like she was nailing a bunch of stuff, and like, but you have some drummers that like they don't know how to keep a beat, and it
The bass player keeps them right in line.
yeah, bass player is what directs everybody, and nobody pays attention to the bass player.
Yep.
Like, there are a couple of them out there, and she got to meet, oh God, what's his name? He does the great slap version of Amazing Grace, and oh, give me just a second. I gotta look it up now because it's gonna drive me crazy.
While you're doing that, what you just described, where the bass player keeps the drummer intact, that
Victor
is
Wooten.
that is that is the Who. That's
Yes.
exactly what John Entwistle did. He's one of my favorite rock bassists. And Keith Moon was crazy. He couldn't play a beat. He didn't play a standard beat until Who Are You? All he did was fill. So when you're doing that, somebody has to, exactly what you were saying, somebody has to keep you in the park. And that was John Entwistle. And in fact, they didn't have a lead guitar player because Pete Townsend just plays power chords, doing the
Mhm.
windmill. And Entwistle was doing all their solos, and he was doing it during the vocals too. He held the whole thing together. Now, wait a minute. What was the name of the one you just looked up?
Victor Wooten.
Okay.
He is just amazing. The he used I know him because of Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. But he's on tour right now. He's only 61 years old, but he's been with Bella Fleck and Flecktones, SMV, Basic Streams, and iTunes. But check him out. He does a lot of really good, like, he came to Lincoln and at a local music shop, like, gave a bass class. So Kiddo was able to meet him live and like if you see him, I'll send you a link after to his
Cool.
Amazing Grace, where he starts off like it's like this slap thing going where he's playing something, and then he does a slap bass version of Amazing Grace, and then it goes into chords and octaves and stuff on the bass, and it's just like, oh my God, I didn't know that this song could like take on so many levels at once. And it was
Mhm.
like, at one point when I was like still believed that I could possibly have a relationship in life and was going to get married, I was like, I would walk up the aisle to this version of Amazing Grace because I'm
Mhm.
not particularly religious, but it's a good song. It has some meaning to it, and this is a really good version of it. And I enjoy it. But now I'm like, I am never gonna find anybody who's going to put up with me. So I'll have like friend anniversaries and stuff, and it'll be great.
Oh,
So, okay, here's another question. If you could
sure.
put together a soundtrack to because there's so much about music involved in it. Did you put together a soundtrack at all when you were writing, like different songs that really made you inspired, or would you make a soundtrack for this book?
The answer is yes, but the technology I want to use is in its infancy. My idea was that Saint Diablo do the soundtrack. Now, it might be I'm not sure who has the technology. One of these telephone companies have the technology where when you're reading something, it tracks your eye and it can kick off music when you hit line 3, say. And I actually approached Chris Poland with the harebrained idea. Why don't we have, you don't have to make music that specifically matches up. Music soundtracks are easy. Like I could look outside at the leaves in the wind and I could play Lick It Up by Kiss and it'll look like it's matched up. So I could just have Saint Diablo playing songs only when a kill happens. And when their eye reaches it, all of a sudden they hear it in their ear. And it's only instrumentals. So you can't have vocals, because if there are vocals, that takes away from the words that you're reading.
Yeah.
And that's the soundtrack that I would have. But they haven't invented the technology that'll make that happen yet. Does that make sense, or was that silly?
Yeah, that's cool. I was just explaining to somebody the other day
Epic.
how Whisper Sync works as far as like when you're reading, because I just found out, like honestly, they asked me and I was like, I just figured it out the other day because they updated my Kindle to where like I'm reading and I like go to the next page and I hit the wrong thing and it pulled up the Whisper Sync. I was like, okay, well, hit play, and it automatically, right where I finished reading, it started highlighting the lines and reading it out loud to me, and then you stop and it shows you where you stopped at and goes back to letting you read again.
Mhm.
But I didn't know about the eyeball thing. Are those of us who wear glasses, like everybody here, are we safe, or do they know?
I don't
Are
know.
they watching?
I actually brought this idea up to my students at the University of Delaware, and one of my students told me that the very beginning of this kind of technology is being done. I think it's iPhone. I could be wrong, but they have a thing where when you're reading, it tracks where your eye is, and when you hit a certain line, it can kick something off. And to me, that sounds exactly like you just have a soundtrack. I don't even need all of Saint Diablo. I could get. I think the guitar player's name is Justin. I could get their guitar player, and I could just sample from their music all of his lead solos,
Hmm.
and all of the riffs he does on the lower strings when the vocals are going, and just isolate the guitar, the bass, and the drums, and just put little pieces in like that. You could experiment with it, and yeah, you can't do it a lot, because if the music comes up all the time, it loses its effect. You only do it during the kill scenes.
Hmm.
Like during what I just told you, you wouldn't do it at all with the Red Headmaster. When there's the retell of pulling the tongue out with the pliers, that's when the music comes up. You know what I mean? And I think that would be just really super. But again, that technology hasn't quite been realized yet.
Yeah, I no, I that would be real. I can see. I was sneaking little sound effects behind him, just playing around, but I can see people abusing it and making it be a bad thing if it's supposed to be something funny. You can hear all the like shtick sounds that people are gonna throw in, and it's gonna like be like, well, that was a terrible idea. But when it comes to things like what you're saying in horror novels and stuff like that, it's like, ooh, get a little ambiance, set my scene up here. Give me a little bit of like some John Carpenter background, little pull up, a little bit of smoke and smolder from the ground, and
Yeah, and as I'm one thing I always questioned, I when I saw students who were writing and they have one headphone in, because they did that in high school. They don't do that so much in college, but in high school they have the headphone in, and I'd be like, "Are you listening to like hip hop?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, you're trying to write something about Shakespeare, and in your ear he's going, I was walking down the street. I mean, are you writing I was walking down the, you can't have lyrics going at the same time, so if I was going to have a soundtrack, it would be all instrumental.
I I listened to Ardruna because it's all in Norse or Norwegian. I don't speak Norwegian. I know what they're talking about. I can follow the melodies and everything and what the song is about, but it doesn't confuse my head when I'm trying to listen.
Mhm.
But I can actually listen to them when I'm writing. I have to listen to like something without lyrics whatsoever
Right.
because I still get caught up in the story unless it's just music. But you were just saying that, and okay, question as you're a teacher. This is something, and he wasn't trying to be stupid, but he was when it comes to Shakespeare and you're talking about high school students. Um, I like this is way back in like 1990. It's probably would have been 1991, 92, when Ho was just kind of becoming a like phrase that you would say in the Midwest as far as like, she's a whore, she's a hoe,
Oh, okay.
you know, at least in rural Nebraska,
Right.
it was a thing. And I was in a class that one of my English teachers was doing. He wasn't a professor, he was a teacher. He didn't have the degree, but it was a Shakespeare class, and it doesn't make a difference what we're reading. I think we were on Othello, but there's one student, uh, the teacher asked, like, does anybody have any questions? He's like, well, Shakespeare really hated women, didn't he?
Oh,
He's
wow.
like, well, why would you say that? Because he's constantly calling him hoes. Like, what hoe? Get me some water, hoe, and all this, and like, literally, that's like, he wasn't trying to be funny. He was serious. He was very like kind of concerned that Shakespeare was so anti-woman. Like, and this is before the like movement currently, like I said, 91. So not during
Yeah,
like a feminist era or anything. It was just like
we weren't. Nobody was using the word "hoe"
there
back
wasn't
then.
internet then. It didn't
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
But yeah, so it was like, we finally there were rappers in the area, so we knew the word
Mhm.
hoe existed. But he was just like, so have you ever had anything like that where people just had no clue whatsoever what was going on? Like they were so out of the park that they just didn't understand what class they were even in with you before?
Like me being a teacher, sure.
Yeah, were you just like,
I've had people like, and sometimes they're joking. Like you go, okay, everybody, turn to page 475. Okay, turn to 475, and then somebody go, what page? And they just want you to say it again. But yeah, I mean, students who come to you in high school are children. It doesn't matter if they're 18; they're children, and they're not going to be on the same page with what you're doing a lot of times, and a lot of times they're not listening. That happens. You know, um, I've never had anybody talk about the word "hoe," but that's original. Uh, but I've had all kinds of questions. The toughest thing I had to deal with in the charter school was how do I handle religion? Because there's a separation of church and state, but this is a charter school. We're not under the public school. We're not under the same umbrella.
mhm.
And a lot of the parents were gung ho on these kids need religion in their life. Now me, I'm not religious, so I never brought anything up. I never made it the center of a lesson plan. But I had a lot of students who wrote about it, and I never made them be quiet. I talked about the writing. I didn't talk about the content. I talked about the presentation and how they can make it stronger. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. I don't think I answered your question. I Guilty as charged.
It's okay. But I mean, you kind of created a tulpa with Bria, didn't you?
Created a what? I'm sorry.
A tulpa?
What's a tulpa?
Um, tulpa is, well, it started off as a thought experiment where you have enough people believing in something
Oh, that
that it
thing.
comes into existence. Yeah, you had your ghost story about the girl who died in the classroom, and then you kept spreading it and talking about it, and she haunts the bathrooms and she does this. And students start spreading it and experiencing it, and new stories start happening to where the story behind it, and like we have the tulpa for this, one of the tulpas that go on in this story that is actually like it happens to me. This isn't like something I just made up, but it's something I discuss is I call them the dresser people. And like it was somewhat explanatory when I still had cats. Things disappear and then they come back and different things happen. But some things are too big for a cat to do, right? And so I have the dresser people, which they come out of my dresser and they take certain things and they leave me certain things. And they leave me things that are like, it's not like, oh, they took my lighter and I got back a book that I was missing. It's like a size 7 windbreaker is laying on top of my clothes. I'm not a size 7, nor do I ever have I ever owned a windbreaker, nor in these colors and stuff. And it's just there. And various things happen and show up in my apartment, and things go away, and things come back, and things disappear, and weird shit just appears out of nowhere. And so
I
it's
would
like
I would run away screaming.
it.
That is crazy.
I- well, my mom's house is haunted. My daughter's place, same. Like we've sat on the phone and we've like recorded things screaming in the background at her place when there's nothing there, and like things moving and stuff.
Oh,
We have,
wow.
yeah. It's just how our family lives. That's just what happens when you're a member of our family. But so the tulpa thing is something that I spread out with his, but you've kind of created one in your classroom with the way that you talk about stuff. And I wondered, has it developed a life of its? Have there been stories that you haven't started but have been spread beyond what you started by people?
No doubt. Now that school actually closed down last year, and I haven't been there since like 2009. Um, but it definitely gained a life of its own because there were older girls waiting in the bathroom, and they'd be in the stall, and they would be up on the toilet. So if you looked under, you wouldn't see their feet, and they'd wait for a younger girl like in 5th grade to come in, and they'd go, "Mommy," and she'd run out screaming. Like, and a lot of the stories that you're talking about, they happened, but they didn't get back to me because I was a teacher and I was the originator. I heard bits and pieces here. I thought I was going to get in trouble. Actually, I thought the story's so good that it's going to get my ass fired. But that didn't happen. I got lucky. And in the story, that sort of happens too. He gets caught. The story is sort of exactly what I just told you. He tells, it's another meta thing. He tells this ghost story, but he has to sub in the middle school because it was a K through 12, and he tells the Bria Patterson ghost story to kids who are in 6th grade, and he scares the shit out of them. And then he thinks he's going to get fired, and they're crying and the whole 9 yards. And then he thinks it's all over and everything is cool. And then there's a presentation going on in the cafeteria, and he's enjoying it. And some girl yells in his ear, "There's a girl in the bathroom." So he has to go find her. And then I have the ghost waiting for him in the bathroom. She's in the handicap stall, and she's badass. so
Right.
so that's the how Bria died story.
Well, I'm going to be reading that because I'm buying
I,
like everything you've written. But so Friday, please hop in.
I want that book so bad. I can't wait to read the rest of your stuff, but I love ghost stories. Ghost stories are my favorite thing of all time.
The one to get, remember we said that Derek Hussey put 7 Deadly Pleasures out of print, but I brought that story back. That's the only story in the one that I did during the pandemic that I didn't touch. I didn't rewrite anything. So it's at Cemetery Dance, and it's Dancing with Tombstones, the one where I'm the clown on the front.
I got that one.
Yeah, it's I
do too.
believe it's the first story in there.
Awesome. See,
Okay.
you need to go buy things. Get yourself some books. It's almost Halloween. You need to read things because the thing, and here's the thing about, we do this every year, and everybody thinks, like Halloween is the time to scare everybody. And it kind of is.
Sure.
It's a crossover time, but we have a show that we used to do and we have not done for quite a while, and it's been far too long. Which is just, it's a campfire show that we do where we sit down with a bunch of people and we all just tell a story. And it's either something that we've written or something that is in the public domain, so you can read it aloud if you want to share like one of your favorite stories by somebody. Again, you have to have permission, it has to be in the public domain. Or some people are just naturally gifted at just sitting down and telling a campfire tale, and just like throwing it out there and doing it. And we love doing that. I'm not the best at it either. I can kind of throw things out, but I'm better at reading something that I've written.
Sure.
But every year at Halloween, what we like to do, unfortunately, a lot of our people, main hosts for the network, work at haunted or own or manage haunted houses. So they're busy the whole season through. And but we like to sit down and tell stories. And what you do for Halloween, that's the family stuff. That's everything that you've inherited and all your ancestors and all of the dead who have come before you. Honoring the dead is the focus point of Halloween. And the time where you tell the scary stories is actually the Christmas season.
Really? How
Yes.
cool.
It's if you study the old Victorian storytelling formats, they would get people and they get them all into the same room. So you're staying warm together, sitting around the fire. And the way to entertain the children and keep everyone together. That's why Charles Dickens initially wrote a Christmas story. So you have Ebenezer Scrooge and everyone. And that was all based on the Victorian tradition of keeping everyone together. And it's not as huge worldwide, but it does have that, like, people die outside when it's way
Sure.
too cold. So you come inside, you share the thing, but you want to scare the dickens out of those little kids because you don't want them getting too comfortable and too ornery. You have to get them spooked a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, So do you have any storytelling traditions that you do in your family?
No, I I think my family puts
Uh,
up with my writing and and they say leave it at the door. um, my whole family dynamic is changing because we didn't really do the holidays in a big way since my mom died. But now my son got married a couple of weeks ago. So now there's a whole new family and a whole new way to bring stuff like that in. And I don't know, we haven't spent the holidays together yet. They came over to watch the Eagles today. And we just agreed that we're going to get together here for Thanksgiving. So maybe we'll start one of those traditions.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
Get it all straight. Yeah, we've lost a lot of people in my family to where now it's like nobody knows what's going on or who's hosting what because everybody who used to, either doesn't live there anymore and the family's expanded to the point where it's like, we can't fit everybody here. Oh my God. We rely on my stepsister's work allows us to rent out their like building. And it has a kitchen for where they use their break room. And then the entire meeting area that they have has like 4 or 5 big tables. So for like Christmas and Thanksgiving, we can buy everything and reheat it in their kitchen and then set up like 20 some people, in a small area.
Oh, that's a big family.
Yeah, we're pretty big and we try to keep it's my papa and my grandma were both the last of their, like, my grandma was one of 7 and my papa was one of, I believe, 5. And though he was one of the older and she was the youngest, they were the last of each of their lines.
Oh,
And so
wow.
it shrunk down, but it was still like I'm one of 2, but then I had 2 steps, and then we have all the different cousins and everything, and it gets pretty big, but even just on like the one side, it's expanded to where it's like husbands and nieces and nephews and everybody, just gets huge. And we're big about it's 3 hours and I'm completely off topic here. I'm very sorry. Um, but we have this big thing about doing white elephant gifts. It's one of our and it's like there's a statue that gets passed around for who came up with the best white elephant gift each year. And you have to spend under $10 and there's like rules and everything. If you get something you show off, I have a horn from some animal over there that I showed off when I got it last year. But there's been like itty bitty kids porta potty things and stuff and just weird shit in my family. And that's what we do. And we're like,
I love it.
it's so strange, like, because it's so expensive. Like, okay, I get to buy for like the couple, their 4 kids, and then this couple and their 2 kids, and then the wife. It's just like, okay,
Yeah.
no, we can't do that anymore. So
You just get one.
yeah, so all the kids are old enough now that everybody can appreciate a good weird ass white elephant.
Yeah.
And people bring in stuff that's like 5 feet tall and just bizarre. And we have so much fun doing that. It's
It sounds it.
yeah,
I'm starting with a much smaller group. I got me, my wife, my son, his wife, and then my dad, my sister, and her husband. That's it.
that's
That's all that's in Philadelphia.
well, and you're in Philadelphia, so that's I learned, okay, you guys live in a rainforest climate, which
We
is
do?
insane. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Okay,
I
see,
did
like
not realize we were
I got stuck in Detroit a couple of years ago when I was trying to go from Nebraska to Connecticut.
Mhm.
And my friend Roz, my fucking brother Roz here on the Owlite Network, drove from Dayton, Ohio to Detroit and then drove me all the way into Connecticut
Wow.
to the Mohegan Sun in Norwich. And so we went through, like, we drove all the way through Pennsylvania. And it's fog the entire time. You're driving as fast as possible, and it's just like there is nothing but fog everywhere.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, have you? I mean, you've driven through your state at night. It's just like on the interstate, you're just like, oh, you can't see anything. We'll just drive and hope that.
I honestly think you just got a weird night. We
But
we have the calmest weather anywhere.
I looked it up, man, because I was confused because like, and there's what's what's the name of the place that's on fire still that Silent Hill was built upon? It's like
I'm
ocean.
no help to you.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up. Silent Hill town. Uh, Centralia. I didn't find it, but I'm pretty sure it's like Centralia, Pennsylvania. Yeah, okay. Is where you go, and it's like on fire, like a coal mine caught on fire underground, and it's been on fire ever since. They had to move
That's
everything else.
crazy. I
Yeah,
mean, Pennsylvania is a big state, though. Like
yeah,
even though the Pittsburgh Steelers are in Pennsylvania, I have nothing to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
right.
Yeah.
But so I looked it up though, because an interesting thing about Nebraska is we don't have a climate. We are a plains network, like we have like a couple bumps.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we are solid plains.
Hmm.
And so the climate in Nebraska is based upon whose wind is blowing the farthest or the hardest.
Right.
And so we borrow our climate from anybody at a given moment. But I did study, and you guys do have you're considered a rainforest in
That's crazy.
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, like, even though you don't have the typical the rules, the little checkpoints that you need to be a rainforest exist in Pennsylvania. And I have this belief that the more East Coast you go, including northern East Coast in particular, like, you reach a point where, and Curtis, and I don't know if you know Steve Van Sampson and some of the other uh he's from Rough House, and the, there's a bunch of folks that I've met up that do Weird House and some other things in that area. And if you're going to live in like Rhode Island or Salem or areas like that, it's like you have to not only be and have the English major or the writing creds, you need to also be like a musician, possibly an historian, an artist, and like have like 7 other degrees so that you fit in well. Where like H.P. Lovecraft came from here, so you must also have at least 7 minors in some form of artistic degree. And they all do though, and that's the weird thing. You're like, so what do you know about? Oh shit! Like I found out about Steve Van Samson, fabulous writer, one of the best monster creators in existence. And since I'm on this network, I'm actually required to say Steve Van Samson, but he writes amazing things. He draws amazing things. He's an amazing musician. He's also a great narrator. And yeah, when I was first interviewing him, I was like, so you draw, you do this, you do this, you do this. Do you happen to fucking sing too? And somebody was like, funny you should say that because, and I was like, God damn it, Steve does everything. So that's the thing I've noticed. The more north and east that you get, the more degrees you're kind of required to accumulate to fit in perfectly with that.
Oh, without a doubt. I feel
Like
under pressure.
Providence
I'm under
community.
pressure constantly.
But you're teaching all these too. Do you pull in a lot of the? I mean, I don't know exactly how it fits in the country. I'm geographically thoroughly impaired.
Oh, so am I.
I cannot fill out a map to say. I tried to once to all of my friends, and I go in, and they're like, "What? That's not New York. No." And I'm just like, "Well, sorry. Like, I'm supposed to know this." But, do you feel pressure it being in that like, that you're an instructor and an author and everything? And and like I say, simply where you are geographically, that's you're hitting an area where a lot of people kind of come from. It's like people don't expect much from Nebraska since the
That's a
last
shame.
thing we had was when Stephen King wrote um, Children of the Corn, and oh God, I can't even remember his name because I dislike him. The beat writer, uh,
Jack Kerouac.
yes, Kerouac wrote stuff about passing through Lincoln, Nebraska on O Street, and I think he called it Zero Street or something. But I am really not a fan of Kerouac, and so it was one of those like, eh, like, oh, guess what? I lived in a building that he wrote in for a night. That's
Yeah,
great.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I don't feel that pressure. I think the students feel that pressure a little bit more. And my story writing is something that I do for me. I am teaching my book, the one we've talked about tonight, for the first time, but that's not my main purview. I'm a sheriff with a different purpose. My purpose is to make the students write very neat and very clear, and not passively, and to have the right grammar. I'm that guy. That's my purview. My job, in a nutshell, is when you're done with my class, you're ready for your other professors, and all they're going to look at is your content. So there aren't many people that want to be the grammar Nazi. And I'm not a big grammar guy, but if I see, yeah, I don't care if you know what a dangling participle is, but if I see it and you see it, you've got to make it better. And students have to make their sentences pop. I don't want weak shit at the beginning. I don't want it at the end. No prepositions at the end. It's like wah wah wah. I want the weak shit swept to the middle. I want my paragraphs to be a third to a half a page, double space, and 11 to 12 point New Times Roman. No passive writing. And we go through all of that stuff, and it's MLA. I also teach APA, whichever one you're doing, but that's what my purview is. What's weird is I'm not teaching literature. I'm teaching freshman composition. That's my main gig. And I'm bringing a book in. You're not really, so some chairs are more kind of hype on this, but it's generally known that you don't do narrative as much in a composition class. And my theory is there are a lot of essays that are narrative essay hybrids. And I do a lot of short stories in there. What I make them write is a 5-paragraph or a 3-page essay with block paragraphs. So they're meeting the requirements of the curriculum and the core competencies. And now, I've been doing this a long time, and I figured, fuck it, I'm going to bring my book in. You're going to do an analysis of it. The paper that my students are going to do on this book, which is due in 2 weeks. It's going to be a 5-paragraph essay. I wanted to make it simple. Okay. And the intro has the standard shit, the attention getter, background, preview, support, and a thesis.
Mm-hmm.
Body paragraph 1, you have to talk about one aspect of the book you liked. I don't want to play politics. Everybody's thesis is going to be that they love the book. Fuck it. So body paragraph 1, I want you to go micro, focus on one part of the book and talk about it and why it worked. Body paragraph 2 is the same. And then I tell all my students this: body paragraph 3 is where you make or break your grade. That's where you're going to tell me what I could have done better. And don't be a wuss. Make me a better writer. You're not my student. You're my colleague. Let's rock and roll. Let's go. So the whole thing about influences and stuff, if I was teaching creative writing, I might feel a little bit more of that pressure that you're talking about, but I have a much more institutional function for the way I make my money.
Okay, so 3 questions for you.
Mhm.
Indented paragraphs, yes or no?
Yes.
Double space after period?
No. Because they changed the rule. You have to understand that's not an opinion. MLA changed the rule. They made it so it's not 2 to the period, it's 1. So I've got to follow it. I'll tell you this, I don't like the idea that now it's okay to, in a sentence, start and call something singular and then call it a they later. And MLA changed, that's pronoun antecedent. I'll give you an example. If one commits murder, they should get the death penalty. That doesn't align. One can't be a they, but MLA in their 9th edition, they changed the rule because, and it's a valid reason, people are identifying by they.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not going to make it a political thing. That's one less thing I have to grade. But the thing with the spaces, I'm old school, like some people are. I like the 2,
I do
but
too.
but it's only 1, and that's the MLA rule, and that's what I teach, and that's what I do.
That's how I end up editing everything I write because I automatically write with a double space.
Mhm.
So I have to go back through and take
And
away
redo every one.
that space. Yeah. So that's what makes me rewrite everything. And last, Oxford comma, yes or no?
Yeah. I've been at war with this, and I understand why MLA has gone back and forth. I was a big fan of the Oxford comma, but the grammatical rule is that you only put a comma before a conjunction if there's an independent clause after the conjunction. And when you have a 3-horse gallop, like I like baseball, comma, hot dogs, comma, and apple pie. Apple pie is not a full sentence. So grammatically, you have to remove it. Now, aesthetically, I always hated removing it because when you do, the last 2 things aren't as important as the first because it's set up all by itself with the commas around it. So you kind of got me. In my writing, I'm going to be honest with you. In my own writing, I still use the Oxford comma because I just feel that kind of way about it. It burns my fucking britches that I have to change it. But when I'm marking student papers, I go either way. That's one that I go either way.
Awesome.
Sorry, you went down the academia lane.
No, I was curious because it's like you're instructing things and I'm like, I'm writing things. And then it's like, okay, if you're going to submit to this organization, you have to write things in this exact format. And it's like some are, like you can have an indentation, some you can't, some you have to write in this. And I'm fucking going blind. So I use sans serif font constantly so I can see it better. And I'm like 14-point book Antiqua font when I'm writing normal notes to myself on my laptop. But it drives me crazy because I grew up reading like double space, and it's what my hand is automatically done as I'm typing at any point in time. I even write that way
Yeah, well,
physically. It's just like it's so hard to make that go away. And I see it in books and articles that I'm reading, and
sure.
I'm like, I
It
want it
annoys you.
back. I want to read it that way too, because I'm like,
Sure.
that's not spaced right. And there's no
hmm
hyphens. What
hmm
happened to hyphens?
Oh, they're gone.
They
But you have to understand, MLA has to write a new book every 5 years. So they create the rules of grammar and citation. So they're going to change the comma rules, and they're going to change. Like you used to not be able to start a sentence with however because it's a conjunction. Now it's okay to start with conjunctions, but fuck it, not in my class. you know. So yeah, yeah, I'm very lucky actually because I've reached a point in my career where I'm kind of good enough at this nerdy shit that I can pick and choose my battles, and I can make my students obey MLA when I want and disobey when I want. And I have my places where I'm going to die on that hill. But don't get me going, because I find this fascinating. Like I'll be at a like when I'm on one of these, I'm not shy. And when I teach a class and they're all sitting there in front of me, they got to do what I tell them to do. I look like a pro. But if I'm at a party, I don't know what to talk about. Like if I'm at a party, I'm hiding in the corner. I'm scared. I want to cry. I hate it because like I would love to talk about the Oxford comma, but nobody wants to talk about that.
I I
I
hide
want
in
to
the
go to your party.
my parties exist like here. There's like books and books and books and books and books. And
Sure.
oh, here's one for I see your book behind your bookshelf behind you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking over, and I only in this first of all, you can't sit on my sofa. Um it's higher than people level with boxes of things that either are boxes of books or things from Kickstarter book things and stacked on top of each other that kind of go around in their way. That I look at my bookshelves, and I only have 2 there, but they're like each 5 sets high. One of them is like from the 70s, so it's never gonna break. It's like 100-pound bookshelf, but like the things still aren't sagging after they've been holding heavy ass books for like 20 years.
Sure.
Just in this apartment. I've lived here for 23 years, I think 22 years. Um, so I have the shelf of books, and then I have the next set, where it comes out and you put the next layer of shelf of
Right.
books that go. And then you have the top books where you lay them on the side and you put them up to the stack of the
Mhm.
top of whatever you're reading. And
There
then
it
you kind
is
of
right
have
there.
whatever you can shelve anywhere. I have that, but yeah, but with like 5 full bookshelves, and then like
Sure.
another one over there, and another one over there, and like boxes of books and these stacks of books and stuff. So our and my mother is like, okay, you need to move, but you can't move your books. Like you just normal people do not own over 600 physical books.
Yeah, that's
They don't.
a lot of heavy boxes, man.
Yeah, she's just like you and I'm like, but but these aren't even just the books I've read. These are the things that I needed to own for and she's like, no, you need to own for a reason the ones that you spend a lot of money on. Things you got autographs on, numbered lettered editions, whatever. But everything else you can just buy on Kindle. And I'm like, but you have to hold the book and open the book and have the book. And even if you don't look at the book, you have to own the book because you bought the book because it was the book.
I agree.
And it,
Yeah. I
so
can't read Kindle.
I, I read it, but at the same time, I read it like it's an audition. Like I'm borrowing it from the library,
Mhm.
and then I'm going to own it if I enjoy it. Because even if I don't pick up that copy again, I'm going to have it, and I'm going to if it's the Discworld, I'm gonna read it every year a couple of times, or something, but I have to own these things, and I'm like, I can get rid of, like, 50 books,
Mm.
but based on you have kind of a smaller little shelf of books there. Do you have a room that's just
I used to. Well, downstairs we have inlaid shelving when you come in, and it's my wife's books and my books, and it's a lot of stuff that I had in grad school and my favorite books. That's all downstairs. This up here is just my stuff, and usually I don't have them set up like that. I just have them, you know, in a row. But I thought I was doing this video thing, and it would look better to
Oh, that's very nice.
show them that way. No, it's smaller because that's all my publications, and then also publications by friends and people I know. So it's going to be smaller.
It looks very cool though. You have a good aesthetic. And what is on the is that a what is the framed certificate on the wall?
Oh, the
Let me see.
certificates. That's
Yeah.
my wife's master's degree and my master's degree from St. Joe's in education.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, man. And then I don't even know where my thing is for the master's in literature. That was the harder one. Who would have thought I had to read so much? But I got that from Villanova. I have that somewhere. Oh, there it
You
is.
have one right behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So are you absolutely, this is something I was going, are you absolutely really DC over Marvel?
Oh, I'm neither. I thought it
Or
was
is that just a character thing?
no, that oh, now I know where that comes from. Yeah, that was a character thing, and I asked one of my students what would be cool to say. I don't know enough about the universes. I'm going to plead ignorance on this. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I'm not. I like Spider-Man. I don't want to step on any toes. I know it's you got to know your shit, and I've never gone down that path.
But I am not a gatekeeper. I think that anything that makes you read and makes you want to explore a story of any sort, regardless of who wrote it and how it goes, as long as it makes you think and makes you creative in some sort of way, is a good thing. I I will argue each title or each company with their titles based on what kind of things you like to be interested in, but I won't say that anyone is better than any other because a lot of the same creators work at both or off on their own doing things. So it's like, okay, do you like a story about this? You might be interested in the if you like a spunky kind of hero, you might like reading Spider-Man because a lot of people write him somewhat similarly, but he has different stories. But this guy might be for you too. But I saw that you mentioned it, and I have to jump on all of the comic stuff that I see. I'm just
Sure.
like,
Sure. I was glad to be able to use that line. It fits the Cody character perfectly.
It does. And based on being, yeah.
But now you see the man behind the curtain has no fucking idea why Cody would really say that. That's one of the things that I don't know. I usually know a lot about my characters. That part I didn't know.
Well, honestly, I'm saying the DC over Marvel thing. DC, James Gunn just moved to DC. That's why we have new Superman coming out, new Batman, and all that kind of stuff is going to be hopping out, and it's going to be the new thing. James Gunn just got done with Marvel with all of the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Marvel Universe, up to Endgame and stuff, and moved over. So you see, like, Marvel has all of these characters kind of everywhere with the AB spectrum of who's good, who's bad, who's whatever, floating around. And then Superman is DC. So you want to see, like, when you have Cody focusing on like good and bad. Okay. And this is something I wanted to bring up at the very beginning of the show. Okay, if you have like Robin is the circus character from Batman, the original Robin, Dick Grayson. He was the child of the acrobatic aerial performers. I can't remember the trapeze artists. There you go.
I see the connection already.
Yeah. So, but if you were to do the Cody connection, he wouldn't be a Robin. He would be something that was like the Joker sidekick, I think. Like he would be the evil clown child
Right.
that popped up, like not necessarily evil, but the skewed. It's not twisted, it's skewed. The skewed kid that came up and looked up to the Joker as to how to go about doing things. And that's why I see there's more of an ultimate innate sense of goodness or badness when it comes to DC than there is with Marvel. Marvel's kind of like, float it how you got it. People will figure it out and they'll like it this week and next week we'll change it, you know? Whereas you can't make Superman be a bad guy. He can't be, you know? And Batman, you can't have Batman with an Uzi. Batman doesn't like guns. You can't do that. And so you have more of the ultimatums, and that's where I think Cody would have had the like, yeah, I'm going to go DC because it's fixed, it's set, it's implied. You can't go as far off course with it.
Did I say the right one?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. And when you're talking about the clown as being the sidekick, in the way you're talking about it, I'm thinking sequel. That sounds good.
There you go. I will give you lists of people to research and stories to read because I am thoroughly interested in, seeing like a Cody the Clown with a sidekick.
That's cool.
Friday. Welcome back.
Oh, I've been here this whole time. I've just been...
Oh, I know. I've just been chatting too much.
Yeah, we're about 3 hours and 20 minutes in. And it would be a good idea to probably find an inn because it's like nearly 10:30 his time. Do you have to work tomorrow?
Yes.
You're like, they kept me on this podcast.
At any point, you could have said, hey, I got to go. Because she will talk all night.
Well, that's what friends do, man.
This has been the best. I love who you guys are.
But yeah, I will say goodnight.
Right.
So hold on, you got to do your big ending.
Oh, well, stay on so we can chat with you after it wraps up.
Okay.
But let us know, where do you prefer people to find you on like social media, where if somebody wants to reach out and be like, hey, Michael, I want to talk to you about your book. I want to talk to you about this. Where do you prefer people to find you at?
On my email. And that's michaelaronovitz@gmail.com.
All right. And what else do you have coming up that you're releasing soon?
Sometime in 2026, through Hippocampus, we'll be releasing Just Disappear, which is a rock horror collection. And then they are doing a reprint of Alice Walks, my first novel, probably by this point in 2027. But right now, it's all blood red meta. All day, every day. Yeah, man. Join me.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. And do you do any conventions?
You know what? St. Joshi says I should do more. I don't have the time. With my teaching, I'm teaching 7 classes a semester and then tutoring all Fridays. So I just don't have the time. And it's a shame because I've been to a couple of conventions and they're beautiful. I love the panels.
Oh, yeah. Horror conventions, and I haven't been hugely on them yet, but I miss Stefan for a little bit. Nebraska's haunted by eldritch creatures. Yes, we are. We have all sorts of stuff. But yeah, horror conventions I haven't been to a lot. I've been to the comic conventions mostly, but
sure.
They are like, you get to meet the most interesting people at them, you know, because they're just huge fans, and they're the like hi, I'm your fan. And you kind of go, really? Or like, I'm kind of scared because you know way too much about me. I don't know. But yeah,
all I did was listen.
She does. She's a very good listener. It's her thing. But let's go ahead and we will wrap this up and chat with you after we're over. I gotta say, what I've got coming up, I'm like, as I'm trying to push the button because I can't find it. This week on Splash Pages on Tuesday, I will have Benjamin Hunting, who is an original indie creator. And then next week on Sunday, we will have The Clutch with Mark Prott. We're going to be discussing his plays that are based in comic book history and talking about comic book history itself. And then on Splash Pages, I will have on Tuesday, the 28th, Dean Haspiel, author of all of the Red Hook comics and various things in the Red Hook universe. And then on the 29th, we're going to have Mark Waid, big Superman creator and stuff, coming out, hanging out with us again. And that's going to be wrapping up everything up until my birthday and Halloween. But you can find me if you look at Carrie Sanders, Kari, Sanders, over on Facebook. All of my links come from there because I am old and Facebook is where everything is based. So it works. Yes, if you see that judgmental crow, that is me looking at you going, huh? Come on. Look it up. Find my shit. Friday, what do you have going on and where should everybody find you at?
Okay, you can find me here on all the Owlite places and all the Faycore places. This Wednesday, we have Jeff Hartz of the Cleveland Honor Club on on Chainer's Haunted Secrets. And on Friday, we will have the Whistle While You Die as our featured story on Corpse Chronicles Reads as we continue our horror, it's not the scary story, but stories while we go through the scary season. And also, at the end of the month, we have Killing Stroke Imminent Bloodbath and Killing Stroke Buried Secrets coming out. We are having a month-long release party in Faycore Book Club. Please find us there. And, of course, I'm going to be pretending to be a whole bunch of other people. If you pay attention, you might be able to guess who.
Friday, if you didn't know this, is our #1 cosplayer as pretty much every single person that exists across the Owlite and Faycore network of people. She is just like, yep, I'm them, I'm them, I'm them, I'm them. If you get an email, it's probably from me, but it's them really, unless you talk to the right configuration of star patterns. And
Yes.
she is awesome and handles all of us so
Thank
well.
you.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Go back, listen to some stuff. Go and buy this book. It will blow your mind. Seriously, it is so good and so deliciously confusing. But you like you're starting to get lost and then you get back on. So it's not you're not gonna sit there and be like, what the fuck did I just read? You're gonna be like, what the fuck did I just read? Holy shit! That is
10
awesome.
out of 10. 10 out of 10. We'll read again to make sure I caught everything. Possibly 2 more times to make sure I caught everything. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody. Thank you very much, and we will see you soon.